Hello. Welcome, everybody. As you can see, my house did not burn down. However, it almost did. What a dang afternoon it was yesterday. So sorry for leaving. Was it yesterday? Anyways, the day we went live. I think it was Sunday. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, that was nuts. It was the air conditioner, and it's a window unit in the living room. And I mean, I guess the burning of the eyes, and it was an electrical fire, you know? Um, it's crazy because I was just like, I kept hearing beep and then I kept complaining of a bleach chlorine smell, and I mean, I guess electrical wires will smell like that. So it was crazy. Me and Ash had to like, you know, pull pull all the wire, because I was like, is it the air conditioner? Is it I kept feeling the wall to see if it was like in the wall. Anyways, wow, never have had that happen. I have had a house burn down though. It's not fun. It burned to the ground. And with Jason not feeling well yesterday, or the past couple days, I was like, oh my God. And when you wake him up and rush him, it's disaster. So I was just like, oh my God, oh my God. But I did get to go walking with my daughter, and that was good because I needed to walk all that adrenaline off. And but anyways, thank you, Donna, for around. I was like, oh my God, I gotta, go finish, but you had already done it. So, anyways, thank you. And sorry. Sorry, everybody. So how are y'all doing? How's it going today? Oh, thank you, Ashley. Hey, it's been a while since I've seen your face. How are you? I miss you too. Come on over. Everybody just come on over, okay? I feel like that's where we're at. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, a good walk after that. And I felt better. Did I want to go? No, I never want to go and exercise, but I did. And we did. And we had a good chat and exercise. Oh, so hey, Carrie Ann. Hey, Beach Bum. How are you? Uh, how are you, weird mom? Oh my God. Aloha. Aloha. Hello. How's it going? But yeah, we need to talk about this interview, this reality check. We're gonna have a reality check. Lori needs a reality check. It would it would be nice to see her actually come to terms with it because that means she will have to like accept it, and then she'd have to face what she's done. It really benefits Lori to I mean, just to the extremes as she is in everything, to to cling on to this, to just, I mean, it's either that or heartbreak, I would say, hopefully. I mean, I would think. I think we would all think that, and I think that's why it was so valuable. It really was. I know she gets on my nerves. I mean, get your curse jars out, your cuss jars, because you about to fill them up. I mean, screaming at the TV, screaming at the radio device, whatever you're listening to it on, and you know, hey, we can look at it as if it's like how people go and throw plates and uh, I forget what they call them, crash something, crash party, or as long as it ain't a Diddy party, okay, no freak offs. Anyways, all right, that was inappropriate, but that's what I do. Hi, Nina, Canadian, Chris Arnett, Natalie. Hey, Natalie. She's never no. Can you? I mean, oh my God. Can you imagine? I can't imagine. Now, and I mean, I've only watched it the one time. I did that on purpose. I was just like, no, no, no. I want to watch it with y'all, and I want, let's do this. Let's do this, okay? All right, we're gonna do this. So, without further ado, now I put everything in the description box for Colby and the podcast, the Scar Wars podcast, which is a really, really fun play with the words there, Colby. I'm just saying. I'm proud. And it's very fitting too, you know? But everything about Colby's his link tree, his to join and become a member for his YouTube, um, become a member of his community. I have all the links down below. And I just want to again thank Colby for I'm proud of him. And I mean, he gave me a renewed sense of hope. I think that's a good way to say that, because this is the first time, or this since he started the Scar Wars podcast, I've seen a difference in him this time versus, the last attempt. And I mean, again, no, I'm not downing that at all. I think that's what makes a resilient person, is that you get back up and you try again. That's what you do. And it's hard, but that's kind of the only thing you know how to do. And I'm very proud of him, and I admire him for his strength and endurance and his ability to keep his lips sealed so tight. I mean, oh my God. I wanted to reach through the device and just strangle her, if I'm being honest, and again, I experienced many different waves of emotion. I'm processing like what's been said, her alibi, her just everything that we've learned over this whole over 60 months, basically 5 years, over 5 years. And the way she tries to explain it away is pathetic. But then again, do we expect that much? Is that on us because of our expectations? Got to lower the bar, So, but it also gives us a touch point, to kind of gauge where we're at in her belief system, because it is definitely, a lot like a sliding scale, like her light and dark scale, it's just like that. But anyways, all right, I'm gonna make this larger too. Oh, okay, let's do this. Oh, it's already doing.
Are you still there? Can you hear me?
I do the best. I do the best with what we have.
Right, you try what you can.
That's another thing. Like, I wonder, I guess he let her know that he was doing this, because she does seem a little geared towards how she appears in that sense. But she will drop that a couple times. She'll forget and prey on him again, pray, Prey, in my opinion, Prey. I think it burns her biscuits that he is standing firm and, in boundaries. And I mean, it's been 4 years, and I can't imagine, because I mean, and I've gone through this just as her being my aunt through marriage and everything. You also mourn the person that was there. So it's like another death. And I mean, again, I can't imagine this being my mother, so I mean, it is hard enough with her just being my aunt. So again, hats off.
Are you cutting out?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm trying to keep it going.
Yeah, no, it's you sound good to me. I don't know if you can hear me very well.
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good. But yeah, I just
know you have all the questions and everything, but how are you doing? Are you okay?
I'm better now, if I'm being honest with you. It's taken a long process to work through all this stuff. It's been a lot of years, but I've definitely found my strength. So I think that's where I'm at right now.
I'm gonna get Colby one of these quiet mouse. What do you call a computer mouse? But anyways, yeah, that's another thing. I know. I'm one of those sound people.
But
well, yeah. I know you've got to be busy with kids and everything, so that your life moves fast when you have little kids and you're doing your life. So
how awkward is that to just bring up kids and that's how normal people talk about kids. I mean, every day, weather, kids, home life, um, and I mean, just now that kind of struck me like it's so awkward. And I remember going to Rexburg the first time. It was January 2021. Me and mom went. Lori was supposed to have a interview, I mean, not an interview, a court hearing, and instead they were going to DQ. That's when they were trying to DQ Rob Wood, the defense. So we weren't going to go, and then we decided to go, and I'm glad we went because I got to like put everything into perspective. I got to walk where they walked and breathe where they took their last breaths, so to speak. I just needed to be there. And I didn't know that Colby had lived there. I didn't know that they had moved there at all. And the very last day, me and mom, I think the next day we were going to fly back home. And she was like, oh crap, I forgot. We got to go visit Colby. And I was like, what are you talking about? What? And I mean, I got to say, I'm being honest. It struck me as odd. And I don't have to understand things, but I mean, from my perspective, I was just like, why would he move all the way up there? I'm not shaming him. I'm just like, what? I tried to figure that out and, can't put too much stock in that. And I think maybe he was just trying. Maybe he needed to be there and be where the kids were and where they, it's like kind of walking in their footsteps a little bit. I'm glad he was there. I'm glad he did whatever he did, on his healing journey. But I mean, I remember we went to their house, which was, right by the hotel. And while they talked, while mom, Kelsey, and Colby, talked, I kind of broke off. And Riley, she was like, I don't remember how old, but she looked like she was about 3, maybe 4. I don't know, maybe 4. And she looks just like Tylee, and I was captivated by her, and I like couldn't help but just play it over and over again, like in my mind, like, how could Lori do this? How could she do this? She's not only forfeiting all these, all her family members' lives, basically, she's ruined, and that ripple effect reaches everybody far and wide, and no more or no less, it hits you. And I just couldn't imagine. She gave up being a grandma. And, just seeing Tylee and Riley she was playing with these little blocks, and I was just playing with her, and that was running through my mind. Like, how could she? It was just such betrayal and raw and real. And that's reality. And now she has 2 grandbabies and 1 on the way. It's just, it sucks. Nobody wins. Nobody in this.
I didn't want any of this for you, as you know.
Yeah.
You told me that Tylee had come to you in a dream.
Right.
And you never told me.
It's like she automatically wants to just start talking about her beliefs. Okay. Like, why did talk about anything and everything else? Talk about anything, pick anything else. Don't talk about kids. Don't talk about my kids. Don't ask about my kids. And I want Kelsey to say, Jesus loves you, but he loves me more. I'm just saying, I'd be like, we're going to make some merch with that shit. Jesus loves you, but he loves me more. Who says that? Never mind. We're told.
What she said, or what her message was to you.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I always wanted to ask you privately, right? Like me and you, like, what did.
She's had 4 years. 4 years. I mean, look, he's mad. And I don't blame him. 4 years. I mean, it can't just be one-sided, him reaching out to her, and it looks like that's how it went. It looks like, and I mean, that's his boundaries. I get it, but I wonder how many times, if at all, if any at all, did she ever try to contact Colby and just tell him person to person in private? Like, we don't know her more than she knows herself, like, oh, you a hooker.
Did she say?
I don't remember. If I'm being honest with you, I don't really know.
Oh, yeah, let me
if
back that up.
I don't remember.
Like, what did she say?
I don't remember. If I'm being honest with you, I don't really know if I believe in the visiting of ancestors anymore. I don't really like people who are in your family.
Now, look, I've had dreams about dead family members, but not like, you know what I mean? I'm not like, hey, advise me on the next move. Should I, and ask my little pendulum and, you know what that's what I'm saying. And that is a big, huge thing in Mormonism. Take it or leave it, like it or not, it is what it is. I can't change it, And the way that Chad, in his book, what is it? The I can't remember for once. Yay, Chad, we hate your book so much, and I'm forgetting the names of them. That's winning. It's something heaven. I don't know. His autobiography or a half of one or whatever. It still lacked personality and talent for sure. But Chad, talked about how one of Tammy's ancestors had reached out to them and wanted them to do her temple work. And I forget where I heard that today. But that's just like one of these things where this is happening in more than just one little person's beliefs. It's happening in Chad. And I mean, think about in Visions of Glory with Tom Harrison. He talks about how, dead prophets are visiting him and many more, just that. And these are just a drop in the bucket. Oh, I know who it was. It was Heidi. Yeah, I'll have to find that another
I don't
day.
think that's something that I've ever seen biblically where like you really get visitors from your family on behalf of Christ. I've dreamed a lot of things, if that's what you're asking. I've dreamed a lot of things about you and I've dreamed a lot of things about my family, but I've never fully dreamed. I can't remember exactly what you're referring to, if that's what you're asking me.
Okay, yeah, but you called me, and so you knew something wasn't right, and you were questioning me, and you were asking, but this is before you knew anything, and you had a dream with Tylee. I'm not saying she actually visited you, but you had some kind of dream that had upset you, and I wondered, because she had passed away, if she had actually visited.
Passed away. I mean, well, I've watched this one time already, and I'm sure you guys have watched this maybe once or 20 times already, but the disrespect that is unfolding, and I just didn't even know it the first time I watched it. I was like, the level of disrespect and just, I mean, trying to erase even Tylee's memory, like, which, Lori, you can never do that shit, and you probably can't. We'll never hear this because your ass will always be in jail.
You and told you something because she visited me and told me plenty of things.
She don't get to visit you, okay? You don't get to talk about that stuff, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we're at. Like, she don't get to talk about and memorialize them. I mourn my kids too. That crap. No one was murdered here. Sacrifice, murder, whatever you want to call it. It was not the way this hooker says it went down. We know that because she is a certified freaking liar, not a lawyer. Anyway.
The very first thing she told me was, "I'm sorry, Mom, for being such a brat."
Oh my God. Sorry, Mom, for being such a brat. Let's go with that one more time.
Visited you and told you something because she visited me and told me plenty of things. And the very first thing she told me was, "I'm sorry, Mom, for being such a brat." That's the first thing that she told me. And it was so dire.
We all feel it right now, right? We're looking right back at you going the same. Like this, did she really just say that shit? Yes, she did. Like, that's the first thing that you come up with as your conversation with your dead, murdered daughter. She didn't pass away. You passed her away. Okay. So don't get it twisted any more than you already have it there, girl. Woo! Everybody, you might want to drink on this one. Not if you're driving. Do it responsibly. But, oh my God, this will drive you to drinking. Straight
And
up.
it was so her. So I just wondered if she had said something to you that you recalled. And that was such a long time ago. I just always have wondered because I never asked you at the time, you know.
So these are the thoughts of a murderer. Okay, straight up. They're like, oh, I wonder if the victims, my victims, you know, wonder about their loved ones that I murdered. Who does that? That way we can talk about it and bond over what your beliefs, Lori. We're gonna bond over them because you're so righteous. So righteous, you're sitting your ass in prison for very long. This lifetime, the next one, the next one. You get to do it all over again, right? Anyways, and then then we have Arizona. Then we have Arizona. Looking forward to it. Ooh.
What your dream was. You just had told me that you had a dream and that she had come to you. So I wondered.
Yeah, I don't really remember, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I'll tell you about a dream where JJ came to me and he said he was crying and it was so intense that I was crying immediately, and he like ran up by my waist and he was crying, mommy hurt me, mommy hurt me. That's what he told me in my dream. If she ever wanted to know, pass it along. Just kidding. Ooh.
I just didn't know if that was something that, and I totally appreciate what you believe or don't believe or whatever. You know what I believe, so it's not.
She does not. She don't respect it. That's for sure. Let me turn on closed captioning. I'm sorry.
A big secret.
Yeah.
It's not a big secret.
It's what you know from when you knew me, not what you know from what police have told you or other people have told you, but what you actually know from me.
Now that right there made me, and I mean, I get it. I really don't think that Chad was like, I'm going to be a cult leader and we're going to start our own church. And I really don't. I've never found evidence of it for it besides a bunch of liars trying to create their alibi and create distance, lots and lots of distance. So there's a lot of things that we don't get. I mean, that we have gotten, but the truth is never one of them from any of these players, any of them. Okay. So, I mean, this to me kind of makes, I'm not going to say wholeheartedly I believe everything that she is saying. I don't, trust me. But there is an element of truth to what's being said, you know? And like, actually, whenever she talked, well, I'll wait.
Personally, which that's the only other thing I wanted to ask you about, because do you remember our drive to Reno, just me and you, right?
Mm-hmm. And I remember you telling me some really out there stuff. You just told me that there's multiple lives, and I told you that's not true. And I really don't believe in that at all. I don't think anybody's ever lived multiple probations. I don't think anybody's ever come back besides Jesus himself. I don't think that's not something that we do. That's reincarnation. That's not something that Jesus ever mentioned in the Bible, ever.
Now we're going to talk about how this is such a slippery slope, because in all actuality, Mormons believe in oh my gosh, premortal life, which is before you come to this life. And then they believe in the afterlife. And they believe in this life, obviously, right? So that's 1, 2, 3. Count them up. That is multiple. Okay. I don't care. I'm not going to do the semantics on it. This is multiple lives. And I mean, come on now. It's very slippery. It's like we don't believe in reincarnation. And maybe they don't. It seems like there is a little twist to it, because I've heard Julie Rowe talk about how she's like, I don't believe that I come back as the opposite sex. I don't come back as a blade of grass or a rock or whatever the hell she said. And so, just trying to get and grasp what these people are believing in, versus what is spewing out of their mouths is a whole different story, because the words that are coming out of their mouths never add up and match to what they're doing. That's one very huge red flag, huge indicator. I'm like, oh yeah, walking, talking contradiction, walking, talking circular circle talking out of both sides of their mouths, and they define everything. And I mean, that was very tough initially, because it's like, again, you're trying to put your finger on the pulse and just figure out like who believes what, and because there's a spectrum of belief. Totally. In everybody, I do believe, whether you believe or not. See, believe. But I mean, it just shouldn't be this inverted. That's the best word I've could come up with it with what this is thus far is inverted. It's a good way to explain it because what's up is down, what's down is up, what's left is right, and oh my God, Um, and then whenever it comes to like speaking publicly, it's totally different than what these people were doing privately. It's like double lives or something. And it I don't know, I really don't think that they know how dangerous and volatile that can become and how easy it would be to slip into fringe if it's not fringe already. You know what I mean? Because it already is. It's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Latter day. I mean, right there. And then then you throw in and factor in all the scripture, then you factor in all the approved uh literature that a Mormon can read and or for that time period until they're like that no longer serves us. That's just my opinion. That no longer serves us anymore. So Mormon doctrine written by Bruce McConkie that basically will explain exactly what they believe, how they believe, and to the extent they believe in it. Okay, it's basically like an encyclopedia for me. That's what it's been. And it was written in 1958, and then another one I want to, in the 60s sometime. But the brethren, of course, the leaders of the church over the years have distanced themselves from that book. But the convenient thing about this setup is that they never have to be held accountable. They're never held accountable because it's like they keep certain degrees between them and bad stuff. I mean, we saw what happened with Tim Ballard, how they clipped the line as soon as they could. That was like an emergency, kind of. Maybe not. Maybe it was all intentional, But it's like they with the shell companies. Look at how the church. I know this isn't about the church, but it kind of all is one and of the same if you think about it. I mean, because this is the mindset. And I mean, it's fascinating, but it's also very destructive and very inverted and very deadly. And it happens over and over again because it never is addressed. It's never acknowledged by them. They deny, and continue on with the toxicity. And it just, I don't know how that flourishes, but it does. And it did. And it has. And it surprised me. But anyway, so in that Mormon doctrine by Bruce R. McConkie, the brethren have that, it's not on them, it's on Brother McConkie or Elder McConkie. And so like he dies, and then I mean he was huge in the church at that time, in his time. But as soon as it no longer serves them, or if it's just getting a little out of hand, they start the character assassination, the guilt tripping, like we no longer, kind of like what they're doing, saying no longer being called Mormon, because it's a victory for Satan, blah 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 blah. They have to constantly like change up the game. They have to control. They have to control. I mean, that's what it comes down to, because it's like information control, like with algorithms and stuff. You can't say certain keywords, or you don't get to be with all the good people. You don't get to be in the celestial champagne room, the celestial champagne room, yo. So it's like, and I don't get to be in algorithm where the video is getting pushed or anything because of keywords that I say, and I kind of refuse to bend on because it's murder, schmurder, murder. Okay. And I mean, again, I know I just covered a lot of things in there, but it's just like how the church avoids being held accountable with how they did the tax fraud and how they had all the 13 shell companies. I mean, it's no different than that. And so this slippery slope is so deadly. I'll tell you that. It reminds me of Mario Brothers back in the day with Luigi on the ice. anyways, I don't remember what level that was.
There's nobody who comes back and lives in flesh and is born again and has a whole nother different life and experience. So I truly knew when you told me that didn't make any sense to me, and it didn't sit right with my spirit. But I trusted you as my mom. I tried to give you the room to share with what you thought and felt.
And there's blood on the walls.
As years went by,
right?
I had to do my own research on the things. And I remember thinking, when you did that and said that, I remember thinking, that's just not right in my spirit. And everybody's entitled to believe what they want, but I'm telling you, for me personally, that in no way, shape, or form do I believe that anybody's ever lived a different life. I think once you're gone, you go to heaven or wherever the Lord puts you. And that is my true conviction to myself. I don't believe in anything else.
So proud of him for that. I mean, he's just like, and he tells it like 3 different ways, you know, like how and why and all the things. And it shuts her up. I like it. I like this a lot.
Well, I honor and respect that. And just like you said, I honor and respect what everyone else believes. They can believe whatever they want to believe, right? Like,
but don't you think that's...
Charles believed that you were a threat to him and his children. Charles thought that maybe you were losing your marbles. Actually, he said that. He thought that you were going to kill him. He believed that you were going to kill him. Why? Because you told him this, and you're psychotic, you're murderous, your serial killer inside of you just was raging to eliminate him and them. Him and his 2 children and Tammy. Gone. Possibly Joe. I mean, we'll never freaking, I hope one day, you know, when she's standing with Jesus, which, I mean, I guess maybe on her way out, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, we'll wave at her. I'm just picking. These are just little scenarios that play out in my head, okay?
Anyway. Don't you think that's dangerous to believe anything and just kind of have your own basis of belief rather than something that's based in truth and what the Bible says?
Okay, so I agree with you 100%. And there's a purpose for what the Bible does, and there's a purpose for what it says, and it says all the right things. And most people who ever come to this earth only come one time, and that's why the Bible is for everyone. It's not, this is...
She just makes it up as she goes, I believe. She's like, okay, I'm going to tailor my alibi, basically her belief system to, you know, just whatever suits it. Confirmation bias is a mofo. No, not confirmation. What? I just sound like John Pryor, y'all. Confirmation bias. Cognitive dissonance, you know? Just, she has to stand firm in her beliefs, because if she were to stray from that, it would mean that she would have to look at the monster that we've all seen for the past 5 years, straight up. That Tylee, JJ, Charles, Tammy, you know, saw in their last moments. You know what I mean? Crazy.
Higher knowledge that people...
Oh, yeah, hold on. We'll back that up, higher knowledge.
It's not... This is higher knowledge that people who need to know it can know it, and people that don't need to know it don't need to know it. So it's not widespread.
Let me tell you where you get that at, too. You go to your bishop and you ask for a temple recommend. You answer the questions accordingly, because they're mainly just asking questions directed about your faithfulness to them and paying them. Basically, that's the gist of it. That's just my opinion. Do you think the church is true? Do you sustain the prophet? You gonna pay? You gonna pay, pray, and obey, right? You ain't got to keep sweet, because they don't care. In my opinion, from my experience in this, they don't care. They do not care. They are selling salvation. Jesus is just, they're dabbling in it. Okay. They're interested in their real estate portfolios and helping out the other 4 pillars. You know what I mean? So I don't think they're about that. They're just, again, I don't see these people as godly people, leaders, prophets, whatever the hell one wants to sustain themselves as, whatever others want to prop themselves and give them power to do all this destruction. It just is gross. It's gross. And I really do think that if I do believe that the church, I'm just going to say the church, in my opinion, allegedly, I think the church set Lori and Chad up initially. I really do. I don't think it was anything else. Maybe they would just had to do ordinances. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a second anointing or not. I will never know. We'll never get the truth any which way, shape, or form. In fact, I thought whenever I was surprised when we found out the temple dates that they would go and visit the temple. Okay. I was like, oh my God. And this kind of either I'm like, well, if I'm a church and I'm practicing the second anointing, if I am selling someone salvation in this life, saying that their exaltation, here's your 2 tickets to paradise, sister. You got to play polygamy though. It's quiet polygamy. You got to be quiet. Okay, it's secret. It's not. It's sacred. It's secret and it's sacred, but it's not secret. But it is. It's a very. Anyways, I don't know if they were doing baptisms for what is it? I know there's dead, but I remember finding out that it was like I don't remember. But anyways, and I mean, again, I think like they issued them James and Elena the names Phoebe. I don't think Chad and Lori like called them that. I think the church did. I think all those people that are named with different names, they're who were there whenever they got sealed. I really do. And I mean, I don't know how to describe it or explain it step for step. I'm not very good at that. I've tried for 5 years, but I'm good at just from what I've read. And I mean, I've read about the second anointing. Most members in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are unaware that this even exists. And those that do know, I've learned along the way, they don't it's like they have their own criteria in their head as far as what they think a second anointing looks like. It's kind of like the call out. The call out is like a little different between each person who believes in it. And it's these things that continue to flourish and grow and go on and on without, a clear stance on it by the church. They're not like, hey, stop y'all shit. Okay. They don't care. It's like another one of those smoke and mirrors to uh, indoctrinate, to keep someone dizzy, to keep someone just chasing their tail steadily on top of everything else that they are tasked to do. I mean, it's so ugh. I mean, I feel so like much empathy and just uh, compassion for them, for those who just don't even know. I really do. And I also feel a lot of anger to those leaders and others, who are propped up and doing this and are aware of it. They are aware of it. You bet your butt.
It comes directly from Jesus to me. It doesn't come from any other source. It comes
That's
from
good.
Jesus Christ to me. And
that's how it's supposed to go, honey. So why are you that's where I'm like, eliminate the church. That's the middleman. Okay. That's what they're getting paid for. Okay. That's the money. Traumatize and monetize. Right.
So
Let's go back to what you said. I feel like, honestly, that there's a lot to talk about here. Can you go over? You said Tylee's been visiting you, so I want to. There's a lot of things I want to go through, but you said Tylee visited you and spoke to you.
I don't doubt it.
And JJ, I heard this in your
statement. She don't get to have this, though.
That you made. I wanted to know, what you mean by that, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk. I think when we talked about Legion, right. Let's go back to what we were talking about. So, in the Bible,
I get it.
There's that moment. I think it's in John 5 where Jesus casts out the demons, and he gets rid of them, and then the man is back to normal. You said that there was a reference to the chosen, and I wanted to hear what you said because it cut out. So what do you believe in?
That's what I had missed the other night. Somebody had mentioned this exact little excerpt or whatever, and I didn't hear that the first time, so I'm gonna have to do some research into that find out more about it, because I mean, there was even some text messages between Lori and Alex, I want to say, and she was like, "Hey, bub, go to LDS whatever.org and look at the second video or something." It's all code talk, of course, and it's probably like, "Here, go here and be here at that time. Go see this person." You know, it's directional. I mean, we know it's not a secret that they talked in code. They did. They named people different names. They weren't living in reality, or the reality that they did create was like hell, basically. And I mean, that's just another way to like higher knowledge my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like higher knowledge my butt. I mean, where did it get you? Higher knowledge. Okay. Knowledge can also be the death of someone. Literally. I didn't even mean to say that, but it can literally be the death of people. And then, because when people get knowledge, or a higher knowledge, um mysteries of the universe, mysteries of the gospel, all the things that this particular group of Mormons were, devout Mormons, by the way. Okay. That's the crazy part. um they believe, they are seeking this actively, boldly, outright saying this. I mean, it's in their literature, it's on their flyers, they're promoting it. They are very pompous about this, I do believe. And I mean, it's kind of like a product as well. It's something that's being sold, maybe not by the higher ups, but it's definitely being sold by the Nancy James, Mike James, the Mike Stroud, the Shelley McDermott, or Michelle McDermott, Abraham Gigliotti, Tom Harrison. I mean, this is like a product, and it does have the system to it, the MLM type structure, in my opinion. And then they all want to just follow Christ, but I think they're just so backwards just from jump. Like, it's like growing up and just knowing nothing but this. I've put myself like in this mind frame so many times throughout this process. And I'm just like, they're taught this though. So it is very a sliding scale. It's just like, well, I can kind of do this. I have one word for you. One term. Soaking. Okay. And that is just because of the purity thing going on in the Mormon church about, having to be married before you have sex. The pressures that be having to go sit in a room with a uncertified bishop who asks you some really personal questions. I mean, it is just ripe for this craziness to just fester. And I mean, it jumps out. I mean, look at it. It's like trying to keep the lid on, because it's just bursting out everywhere. Look at Ruby Frankie. Look at Jody Hildebrandt. Jesus, look at Jody Hildebrandt. Look at Gordon Bowen. These are like, I don't know. It's got to be pretty toxic. I mean, I'm not saying at all everybody has this experience. Just in this group of people, and looking at it from this aspect, my aspect, or whatever, my perspective, I'm most likely, I'm pretty sure I'm a way extreme in the negative side, right? But I didn't start out that way. Okay, just know that. And it just, but it's like, so, I'm just saying there's some truth to what I'm saying too. It's not just a one way or another. There's a balance in between there too, somewhere. I wish I could say it better.
When it comes to the zombie idea, because
let me go back.
So you said that there was a reference to the Chosen, and I wanted to hear what you said because it cut out. So what do you believe in when it comes to the zombie idea? Because that's where you were at. That's what you were telling me.
Yes, I would love to address this because I have never said the word my personal. This has gone out of control in whoever made up this whole zombie thing and escalated what my basic belief was.
Now, I mean, okay, let's think about this. Let's process this, because I'm trying to think of the first time they called someone a zombie. And did they? Hold on. Let me go to the chat because I'm like, wait, what? You know, and I'm glad we're doing this because when I walk through this, I have to like think about it. So when was the first time that zombie was mentioned? And did it come from Chad and Lori? And I mean, again, it's just I'm kind of blank on that right now, you know? I remember the first mention of murdering Tammy and was like I want to say like a couple days after they met. Yeah, and we were just like they had to have met before. They have had to have met before this time because you don't simply just get sealed to somebody secretly in the temple where you're married to other your respective spouses and then just hatch a murder plan. Who you don't. People don't do this. This is not normal. And I mean for the whole group to go along with this, it makes me think the worst, you know? I'm just like, you know, what do you believe? What do you freaking believe, people? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you. See? That's what I'm saying. There is a video of Tylee saying, "Mom, I'm not a zombie." No, it was she told Melanie Gibb that, right? I don't think there's a video of her saying it, but I get what you're saying. Was it with Lori talking on the phone and Tylee said, "Not me, Mom." Yeah, that was it. And so Melanie says think about that though. I mean, just hold on. I just thought about how Melanie could have introduced this idea. Just give it a whirl. I'm not saying think about it, but I mean, I'm not saying this is it, but let's just keep that in perspective that Melanie Gibb could have introduced this because Tylee's not here. Lori's in jail. Melanie Gibb needs a story. And we know that Melanie and David wrote the infamous Reddit email. Okay. And it talks about Ballard and Renlund being zombies, yada, yada, yada. But, and Melanie even says in interviews and things like that, I don't really remember. I tend to, I guess I block her ass out because from her trial testimony, because I don't really cling on to anything she said in trial. Neither one of them, but because they're liars too. I believe that Lori, Chad, Alex, Melanie, David, and I'm sure a couple others participated in said festivities, if you know what I'm saying. That's just me. That's the bigger picture to me. That's the bigger circle. I think there's a lot of protecting. I think there's people who are kind of this more the scapegoat than or the fall guy, whatever. I mean, that does happen. This is how this works. And I mean, you look at Diddy, look at I mean, even Tim Ballard in a sense, kind of. Only if it would be like investigating his criminal, like the criminal side, not the lawsuits. But I mean, because he was being investigated by what do you call it? Homeland Security. You know, I mean, just there is a like this little. I'm gonna protect. You know, like you have to protect. Let's just say this. Let's just say that they are protecting somebody. I mean, it would behoove them to be quiet because if not, they did, you know, take an oath. Just throwing that in there too. So I don't know. It just whenever who was it that said that just now? Hey, is Megan here? Happy birthday to you. If you are, you want to come up? You can come up. Come up. If that is Megan. Okay, I'm trying to find that comment just now. I thought zombies were mentioned in the text when Lori says the kids aren't the kids anymore or something similar. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Because I have it right here. Well, I'm pulling up the Chandler one right now, and then I'm trying to think about Gilbert docs. Come on, Pooter. Okay, zombie. Oh wait, let me pull the document up, not just look for zombie across the board like a ding dong, like I was just now trying to do, right? Okay, get me out of here. I gotta wait for it to come back. Get too button happy. Way too button happy. Okay. I have a lot of things named Chandler. Yeah. Okay. Now, come on, open. Open sesame. Oh, okay. I didn't push the link. My bad. All right. Let me pull this up here. If it'll open, I mean, I've already clicked it 11 times already. Come on. What's the problem? It's probably going to all go at one time, probably. No, it's like not registering that one. Let's see. It sure is being slow. Usually it opens in another window. No, I'm sorry. I might just have to abort. Just open. It says open. I'm not patient either. Okay, thank you. Goodness. All right, now let me type in the keyword. Zombie. Okay. I don't know what happened. Oh, y'all can't see it. That's right. My bad. Nobody can right now because my computer's being silly. This is aggravating. I don't know. It was about a month ago my computer started being real slow. So I probably need to, and I think I have two windows open. Yeah. Oh, here it is. Hold on. Whoop. All right, I'm gonna close that one. I don't need that. Okay. Try it again. One more time. Okay. All right. This, I probably, oh my God, why does it keep doing that? Weird. I'm being sabotaged. I'm being attacked. All right. We'll just, we'll come back to it. Okay. Sorry. All right. We'll go back to the interview. But I mean, let's put a pin in that and we'll revisit it. Just want to know if, I don't know, it just gave me the idea that if Lori and Chad didn't go with the zombie thing, and think about it, how Melanie and Jason were friends before Lori and Chad were friends with Jason, and how he introduced Lori, Jason Mao introduced Lori to Melanie. Okay. And so then Melanie shows up in this on the scene, good God, on the crime scene. And, you know, I'm just trying to figure out how much they're trying to distance themselves by creating a narrative, maybe. And I mean, I've thought this before, anyways, but I mean, not with the zombie thing. But when you kind of think about that, how they could have created this narrative, yeah, you know, calling them zombies. And I mean, if zombie would have had to have come from none other than Jason Mao, in my opinion. Just I mean, not trying to be ugly or mean or pin it on anybody else. I'm just saying these ideas, you know, and I mean, that's what this is. There's no original thought here. And just trying to figure out who's doing what and why. Because it seems like Lori is throwing Melanie and David under the bus whenever she blames it on Tylee too. I mean, Tylee gets the major shaft here again. Uh, it makes me feel so bad for Tylee. I know I just kind of switched the subject on that, but it makes me feel bad for Tylee because this is what this woman, her mother, her so-called mother, is doing to her, has done to her, and is like doing to her still. Like, you're a fucking monster, man. Like, you are a monster, Lori Cox. Oof, let me back that up a little bit. Oh, crap. My bad. Hold on. Hold on. I thought I had switched it back. I'm sorry. Good Lord. Let me go back. Try it again.
Even when it comes to the zombie idea,
Oh.
because that's where you were at. That's what you were telling me.
Let me go back because I want to catch that from the beginning of that.
So you said that moment, I think it's in John 5, where Jesus casts out the demons and he gets rid of them, and then the man is back to normal. You said that there was a reference to the chosen, and I wanted to hear what you said because it cut out. So what do you believe in when it comes to the zombie idea? Because that's where you were at. That's what you were telling me.
Yes, I would love to address this because I have never said the word my personal. This has gone out of control, India, whoever made up this whole zombie thing, and escalated what my basic belief was. Okay?
Okay, but then why wouldn't she take the opportunity right there if that were true? If it were Melanie and David just spinning it, then why didn't she take that opportunity just now to throw Melanie under the bus? Besides, unless she just increasingly gets that way, because then she starts saying that Melanie Gibb is stinky and all kinds of shit. And I'm here for it. All right. One more time.
Said the word my personal. This has gone out of control, India, whoever made up this whole zombie thing, and escalated what my basic belief was. Okay? I, Lori, have gone through my whole entire discovery, and there's not one thing. Do you know if you do a search and you do the word zombie in the search in my discovery, do you know the only thing that comes up is when JJ was ordering those little zombie babies from Minecraft. That's the only thing that comes up in all of my 19 years of my iCloud.
I mean, I kind of believe that. I'll see. We'll see.
That is not something I said. That is not something that. So yes, can evil spirits possess humans like it did in John 5? Yes, I believe that. Do I believe I have the power to cast them out? Yeah, I do. The same way he cast them out in episode 5 of season 2 of The Chosen.
Okay.
So yes, those are my bait.
You there?
Sorry, the Wi-Fi
Clayton
here is so
Clayton got her.
terrible. It just keeps cutting out.
It's all right.
Thank God.
Yeah, we can just go through it. So you were saying that you never said the word zombie. That was never used by you.
And all this, that's one thing I believe she didn't do. Everything else she did.
I mean, I have a lot to ask you, honestly. But I wanted to give you the floor to really say your piece. And since we're cutting out so much, maybe it's just a good time. You told me one day you'd want to say it in our last phone call. You said that you wanted to tell me what has happened. So
hold the phone. Hold the phone, Colby. That's a good point, because why did she? I mean, unless that's like a hindsight thing too. She could be saying, and now she knows that looks, or people have provided lots of feedback. I mean, commentary, reporters, judges, you know what I mean, law staff. I'm just saying, like, she might know that that's the feedback she's getting too. So, but that is interesting. Why did she describe her beliefs as basic? So what are these other ones? These higher knowledge, right? She is a slippery slope, huh? Just saying. Slippery slope. But that is a good point. Okay, back.
You told me one day you'd want to say it in our last phone call. You said that you wanted to tell me what has happened. So I'm going to just give you the floor real quick. If you want to say your piece. And maybe.
Why didn't she write him? Okay. I mean, that's what I would have done. I'd have been like, "Dear Cole," and then I'd have spilled it. I mean, I get it, but she's had a lot of opportunities. She talks to her mother. She talks to her sister, Summer. She talks to family members. Okay. And I mean, they talk in code anyway. So it's like, I don't know. It just seems like that's just her excuse. And she's clinging on to that too.
Maybe I'll just have follow-up questions after that. But I want to go ahead, and I think you know what I'm referring to is what really happened then with
I don't think so.
My brother and my sister and
know.
this whole thing. And I know that we could talk about my
Good one.
dad, but I'm assuming that that's because of your case is a little not for right now. We can always follow up on that at some point because I do have a lot of questions about it all. But I'm gonna try to just keep it strictly to my brother and my sister. So I just want to give you the floor real quick, and I think we'll just kind of go from there.
Oh, everybody prepare.
Well, it's obviously different than what everyone else thinks, and I don't know that if you knew the truth of what really actually happened, if you would want it to be in public forum. Colby.
What is so freaking special about your beliefs, girl? They are not higher knowledge unless you tell me that you were initiated by being sealed together in a temple by Chad or with Chad. And then so that's, I mean, because that's really when everything accelerated in our family, like the dynamics, and Uncle Charles started coming around with JJ and, without Lori. I mean, it was before that too, though. It was like, again, my aunt, oh my God, my grandmother died, my nanny. That's my mom and Charles's mom. Okay. She died this is interesting, right? She died in March 17th, 2018. And Uncle Charles came to town by himself, which is weird, odd, but I remember seeing him. I remember, the funeral stuff, but I don't remember my thoughts about it. And but now, knowing what I know now, looking back on the case, learning about how and when Joe, not how, but how and when Joe died, and all that, I was just like, man, if there were a window of time where Charles wouldn't be there, it would be March 17th, 2018. Yeah, that's like, I would say, I'd have to, of course, have experts look at it, at his autopsy and everything, which, there's been a lot of in-depth reporting on it and everything, YouTube channels and things like that. But it's interesting because to me, I'm just like, oh God, it's like, yeah, Charles, go bury your dead mother. And I'm going to stay here with, the protector, my protector, and the family hitman. And we're going to just do them in because we need money, And that's kind of, you think about it too, because that's how Lori basically left Joe, because like once she won the money from Wheel of Fortune, she was out of there. And once she received some money from Joe's life insurance policy, she was kind of out of there. Her next marriage, with Charles. And anyways, that's kind of interesting, huh? But yeah, that little window of time, you don't have to be accountable to your husband. And you can maybe do some things if that even happened. I'm just positing it. It would be interesting to know. So, these things were happening before, the sealing together of Chad and Lori, because that was 6 months prior to when they met. They met in October, allegedly, October 26, 2018. That was, so Joe died or was found April 3rd of 2018. So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 9 months prior. Okay. I don't know. I'm just talking out loud or thinking out loud. That way I'm trying to timeline it. You know what I mean?
Talk to you personally. I know that you are the only person on this planet, to me, who loved Tylee and JJ as much as I do.
She don't love them.
The only person.
Great. Love does not kill.
In all of my 4 years or 5 years of going through this, because it's been 5 years now.
Yeah.
I have asked every one of my attorneys, how can you help me to talk
We can't,
to
girl.
Colby
We can't
in a
help
way
you.
that I can let him know the truth of what happened, because he's the only person on this planet, not my mom, not my sister,
I missed that. What the
not
hell?
anybody else.
What?
Colby is the
What scene? What? Hold on. I just maybe. Oh yeah, it can rattle a lot. Jeannie Marie. You know this, though. You've been here for a long time. You know, and I mean, I don't even mention half the stuff that goes through my mind. My mind is always peeling out. There's like skid marks. Okay, where is the scene part? And I want to say I remember something like that, but I don't remember. Like, I guess I was checked out just now. Hey, girl. I sent a text to you if you feel like coming. I understand. I mean, but if you want to, you're more than welcome. It would make for interesting dialogue. Because you're so much better at saying it than I am. Being around crazy people makes you feel crazy, such as doubting yourself with the zombie thing. Yeah. They are crazy. They are fâché. Fâché is crazy in French, Cajun French. Okay, I guess I'm not seeing it. So Tylee would never have done anything to JJ. No, and or let anyone mess with him. I believe that too. I think we all believe that. Yeah. Okay, all right. I'm gonna go push play.
The only person on this planet who loved JJ and Tylee like I did.
Is this like a buttering up?
Person that truly cared, and in my opinion, he is the only person who deserves to know what really happened. So can you help me find a way where I can talk to Colby privately and tell him, because this is a horrible situation and I want to be able to talk to you, but I don't know that after you know what actually happened, if you would want that to be public.
Okay. Well, basically,
what does it matter?
You said no one was murdered. That was your biggest statement. You said not one single person was murdered. That everybody, you said there were suicides and deaths, accidental deaths, and you said that there was drug overdoses. That no one was murdered.
Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened.
So this is a mind-blowing development in the Chad and Lori Daybell case. So this is them sunbathing the day of their arrest. And this book right here, I'm going to tell you what's inside of that book and how it basically explains everything about this case. So Visions of Glory is a book that has been sold in LDS bookstores. It claims to have a stamp of approval by an apostle. It also claims to be a prophetic book about the last days leading to the second coming of Christ, which is what Lori and Chad believed was happening right now. At one point, the book explains that people will be so ripe with iniquity because they've been overcome by evil spirits, and that the most righteous thing that you can do for them in that state is to, quote, deliver them from mortality. I will play a clip for you now.
There was a law we followed. It was not a rule, but a law. When an individual or group threatened us, we knew their hearts. If there was any hope, even the slightest hope that they could be saved, even in the most celestial sense, we did not harm them. When we were confronted by people who were fully ripe in iniquity, and who would never repent, then we were free to deliver them from mortality. Their death would then be a blessing to them. Their death would be a blessing to them, because they could no longer add additional iniquity to their divine ledger.
Yes, I did mean to do that. You're like, oh no, the portal done took her again. I'm here. Safe.
Was murdered. That everybody. Okay. Well, basically, you said no one was murdered. That was your biggest statement. You said not one single person was murdered. That everybody. You said there was suicide.
I love this question, y'all. I love this question. This is like hot seat hooker. Hot seat hooker, because no one, what the hell did you mean by that? And then she wiggles.
And deaths, accidental deaths, and you said that there was drug overdoses, that no one was murdered. So that's what I'm going to ask you then. If you were willing to say it in your statement, then I'm asking you to say it to me. If you don't want to go into detail, that's your decision. But that's what I'm asking you today.
And I'm saying, everybody do some mental gymnastics now. Stretch, because we're going to stretch our minds. We're going to stretch our minds beyond reality, literally.
Well, what I can tell you is that I wrote out what happened with those 38 pages, and that's what I was telling my attorneys. I need this to get to Colby.
she wrote 38 pages. That was her little spiel. Her allocution was 38 damn pages. Did she write big? Front and back, girl, front and back.
Who else it has to go through, but I don't think it's fair to Colby to not.
He's right here. Say to you, like, be direct with him. Quit. It's very just loose, you know. It's like she's scared to commit to. Oh, okay. I just heard the beep. She's scared to commit to this, to anything, because I mean, again, I think she's protecting only herself, you know. Like, it's crazy. Okay, cool, yay. All right. Hey, happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank
50.
you.
She makes 50 look good, and yeah, you look damn good, girl.
Well, I feel like I'm about 36, so that's what I'm gonna go with.
Hey, I don't even know what you're talking about. Right? Well, do you have anything to say initially, or?
I am still really processing through this. I think this episode that you're doing is my third watch through.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I'm still kind of speechless to a degree, where I'm just trying to figure out what I even want to say about this and how I even want to respond. And the first time that I saw it, it was my birthday.
Happy.
I
I
was
said the
busy.
hooker's not going to ruin it, right?
I was busy doing birthday things. You know, I do a lot of like self-care on my birthday. I do a lot of just like I do what I want on my birthday, you know.
Good. All right.
And but I decided to make time for this because I felt like it was really important, and I knew that Colby was releasing it for members only first, and so I wanted to see it like right when it came out. And I am a member and supporter of Colby's channel. I love him so much. He and I have not been in touch. He used to be super close to my oldest daughter, and he has not responded to
he's
her,
reeling.
you know,
He's
her
grieving.
messages and everything. And I know he's grieving. I know that he's going through so much. Like of all the living victims in this case, he has lost more than anybody else. So I don't fault him at all for having whatever boundaries that he needs to have. And I want to be a resource for him for whatever he needs. But if he does not want me to be in his life, I completely respect and understand that as well. So just to say that I haven't been in touch with him. But I have been following his channel. I've been watching the things that he's posting. I'm so glad that it seems like he's in a really decent, healthy place processing all of this stuff. He's doing so much better than I think I would be if it was my mother who was doing all of these things. So I admire the hell out of him. I can't believe that he had the capacity to even talk to Lori, much less to interview her in such a calm manner, and to reserve his own anger and his own grief to allow Lori to just talk and hang herself with her own words. And I have so much admiration and respect for the way that he handled himself during this interview. All of that being said, I'm infuriated all over again and angry all over again, just like I was after hearing Lori's allocution statement. And I don't really yet know what, if any, commentary I want to have about this. People started asking me almost immediately after the interview aired, like, have you seen it? How are you going to respond? I don't know. I really don't know. Even on the third watching of it, I have so many thoughts and feelings to process and sort through that I don't even really know what the right thing is to say. All I can think is that above everything else, I want to respect Colby, and I want Colby to be the voice here. He deserves to be the one to tell this story. And
absolutely.
I just don't, I just admire his strength and his resilience, and I'm grateful for him. And I just, beyond that, I really don't know. I've had a couple of people ask me to come on podcasts and talk about it. And I just thought I would come in here. I don't really have anything to say. I just wanted to be with you as you're unpacking this, because I know it's a lot as well. I don't know what to say yet.
And that's okay. I think that's normal. One of the ways that I have somehow found a way onto YouTube, how to kick the door open. And I was like, okay, I'm tired of people. Like, it's like, I just wanted to humanize the victims, like,
Yeah.
they were real people and had real lives and their family, that's family. And no matter how connected or not, you're still family, you're still blood, that's your lineage, that's your people, and I mean, I don't know. So that was my way of getting on to here. And then it kind of turned into just me processing. This is what I do. This is me processing. And it doesn't ever happen just in one time. I come back and I come back and I come back for more and more and more. And it does change, I mean, because the more I hear things, the more I know this piece, and then look back and can analyze it with this missing piece, it changes a little bit. It does. And it fills in a lot of answers that I haven't gotten from anywhere else besides doing my own research and watching other people cover this in their own way,
Yeah, that's kind of been my take as well. I listened to a couple of other podcasts that covered this just to see what other people are thinking about it.
I heard her asking you to come on, and so that's how I kind of read the room on how your temperature with this. I was like, well, I don't want to push you, and I mean, but I want you to know that you can reach out anytime. I'm not always available.
Yeah, I totally
I'm cuckoo in my own sense, but I like the fact that we can talk without all the buffers, all the disclaimers, basically, or history lessons, and we can just pick it up right where it is, and then we allow that for each other. Like, I respect how you feel, and it's okay to feel however you feel. I don't hold that against anybody in this. Anyways,
I totally appreciate you. I appreciate our conversation that we've had, and I honestly don't think that we disagree on much.
No.
I really don't. And I respect you so much for being willing to dig into a religious system that you weren't born into. You like, you didn't have to subject yourself to all of that trauma, but yet you have,
Yeah, I'm like, am I healing? Is this a healing journey, or is this torture? Am I doing worse?
I think that there is a power to saying things out loud. And when you speak about the trauma that you have experienced and the dysfunction that you witness, there's a power to that for you personally. And there's also a power to putting that out in the universe for other people to hear and to consume, because you are arguably, you're an outsider to Mormonism, but you're viewing Mormonism with this lens of not ever having been involved in it, and yet calling out the dysfunction in it.
And I wasn't trying to join the church. I was trying to look at it from their lens. Like, what would it be like to be born into this? Like, really empathetic, like trying to put myself into what this looks like and what's the common denominators was. And I mean, it was the church.
And I like your perspective of coming to it from somebody who's never been involved in it, and yet you have observed all of this that's gone on inside it, and you see the dysfunction in it, and you can call it out. And I'm sure that there are so many people who are thinking exactly what you're thinking, but they don't say it out loud.
And there's not always the words, it's crazy.
Well, that's true. And if you're not, if you're not digging into it, it's hard to have the words to know what to say about it. and you're learning the words, and then you're giving other people the words to speak out on it too. So I
Oh, you gonna
respect
make
that
me
a lot.
cry.
Because
Thank you.
there are a lot of people out there who think the same things that you do, but they don't know how to express it. And
Or
I think saying it out loud is so, so important.
thank you.
I just
Thank
did
you.
an epic 2.5 hour episode on the indoctrination of the Mormon church and how, like, I didn't have a choice as a 7th generation Mormon. I didn't have a
Exactly.
choice.
You're born into it.
It was
It's like
never like
Santa
I
Claus.
chose to be baptized,
Yeah.
like some people talk about, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that
Conversion.
Mormonism takes up your entire life. It's not just a place that you go on
It's a
Sunday.
way
It's
of
every
life.
single day.
It is a way of life. And then
Yeah.
I just feel for y'all so much. I really do. From beginning to end, I can only empathize, you know, and
Yeah, it's a
learn from your
religion and a
experience,
culture.
you know. It is. It is a way of life. And I mean, it's like even watching y'all transition, I say y'all, you know, like those that become have a faith crisis, or is it a faith crisis? Sometimes it might just be trust issues with system, you know, the powers that
So,
be, basically.
yeah, and this is what I'm getting ready to put out a lot on my channel right now, just because I have episodes planned. But the realization that what you were taught from birth is unhealthy and untrue is it's an existential crisis like nothing I can explain to someone who hasn't been through it. It's your entire
Yeah.
worldview. It's like somebody growing
It's
up
not just Santa
as a
Claus or
yeah, it's like somebody growing up in America as an American patriot, loving their country,
Yes.
finding out that the
You
founding fathers actually lied and that England was not the enemy, but they were actually trying to help us,
or
and
Christopher
that they
Columbus.
weren't, or that, yeah, like Christopher Columbus did not
Yeah.
come over here to discover America, but he came particularly to take the land. Like, I'm making
All
this
the
up right now,
things.
but I'm trying to create an analogy where people who grow up believing something
Mm,
and they base their entire life and their entire
mhm.
worldview on it, and then they find out that it's not true and it's
The echo
wrong. And
chamber reaffirms that. The
not
echo
only is it
chamber.
wrong, not only is it not true, but it's actually also harmful to a lot of
Yes.
people. And to
Amen. I
be
can't say that loud
raised in
enough.
that to be raised in that, you know, as somebody who literally every single one of my family members, like every aunt, every uncle, every cousin, every grandparent, every sibling, like they're all, and your parents, like who you believe are infallible when you're growing up as a kid, to
They're your
find
first
out that
cult
they
leaders.
were wrong about something to this degree, it shakes your entire world.
Can't imagine. I'm
And
so
if
sorry.
I hadn't already faced the fact that my home life growing up was unhealthy and that my marriage was
Ooh,
unhealthy and that so many other things were unhealthy, I don't know if I
interesting.
ever would have been able to deconstruct my religion as well, you know?
So, is that kinda what came I'm sorry, like, that interests me, though. It's like, did that is that what kinda prompted you to start digging into the dysfunction? Or into the church system, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I mean,
Well,
did that
so
feed, or they just kinda feed one into the other because they do go hand in hand, you
yeah, they
know?
totally do. Um, so for me, my story is kind of weird because I, having experienced sexual trauma as a young child,
Mhm.
began dissociating as my defense mechanism at a really young age. So I dissociated from a lot of things, like all the way through my growing up years and into adulthood, through my young mothering years, all the way until I was like 35.
Right?
So
Yeah.
I just dissociated from everything and pretended like everything was fine. You know, like I just, when people would ask me, like I always had a smile on my face all the time. And when people would ask me how things were going, I'd be like, "Man, things are so great. Like sometimes they're hard, but
Right.
we're okay. Like we're good. We're making it through this, you know." And
Yeah.
I had a huge wake up call that happened around 2014-ish or so, and it shattered my world, and I was forced to sort of wake up from the dissociation that I was in and look at things as they really were. And the first thing that I went to therapy for was my relationship with my parents.
Mhm. Okay.
And you know, I was like, oh shoot, I had a terrible childhood. I need to like fix this relationship with my parents. But what I realized was that what kept coming up over and over was like my marriage was dysfunctional.
You had
and
to fix
abusive,
yourself,
you
basically.
know,
Yeah.
and so it
You're
was
in the
like,
world that you were thrust into the lie, you know, and yeah, I really, that's
yeah.
a
So
very
like
commendable.
when you grow up believing, you know, Mormonism is true, it forces you to deny your own feelings. It forces you
Never
to
do think
disconnect
about
from
them.
your
Oh,
own
yeah.
body and from your own intuition and from your own intellectualism. It forces you to not think critically about things. And that's how a lot of Mormons end up in abusive situations. So, yeah, I
Forgive and
mean,
forget.
that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons that, yes, exactly. That's one of the reasons it took me so long to get out of the church, is because I was deconstructing all these other things first. And the church was the only thing in my life that was the
Yeah.
constant.
That's how I am
You
too.
know,
I go hard. I go ham. You know, I'm a whole asser. I don't even mess up whole ass. I mean, a half ass. I go all the way. I mess up a great deal. And then I'm like, oh my God, you know, but I mean, so you just went and just, yeah, all the little threads that connected. That's so interesting to me because
well, yeah.
it
So,
is. It
what
just is.
ended up happening is that when I went to therapy, I deconstructed my family system first, and then
Mhm.
my marriage, and then my early childhood abuse, like the sexual abuse stuff. And that took me a long time to get through.
Still doing it, you
And
know? Yeah.
yeah, and I'm still doing it to a certain degree because
Awesome.
it all intertwines with body shame and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was finishing my book about the trafficking that I lived through and all of the abuse that I healed from. And I had a chapter in my book that was about Mormonism, but it was very apologetic. It was like, this is what we believe, but the culture is really sick. And before I published it, I had my partner Samuel read it, and he's never been Mormon. He hates
I love
Mormonism. He
Samuel, and
hates
I've never
everything
met
Mormon.
him. High five. I
Yeah.
love him.
And I said, I want you to read this and tell me if I've said everything that needs to be said. I need an outsider's perspective. And
He
he
checks
read
you.
it
Jason does that to
and just,
me. That's good.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He calls me out on my stuff and holds me accountable and everything. He didn't get through like the first 4 sentences, and he was like, you can't write this way. He's like, you're writing it as if you're apologizing for the fact, like if
That's
you're writing
it.
it as if Mormonism is true, but you're sorry that the culture is sick. And I was like, well,
Wow.
that's kind of where I'm at.
Oh,
Like the culture is sick.
wow.
It's racist. The culture's racist. Blah, 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 blah. He was like,
That's ingrained, though.
he
That is driven
Megan,
in.
he said, the reason the culture is sick is because the doctrine is sick. The doctrine determines the culture. And I was
The
like,
very foundation. Yeah. That's
so
nuts. Very
I
smart
started,
dude.
yeah. So I started doing some digging, and I was like, okay, when did we get it wrong? Because I know we got it wrong about Black people in the priesthood, right? I knew that
Oh,
Joseph
yeah.
Smith had ordained some Black people to the priesthood, and he was fine with it. And I was like, okay, maybe it was Brigham Young that got it wrong, because when he took over the church,
Yeah.
he stopped ordaining Black people. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to dig into some of this history. What happened when Brigham Young took over?
It should withhold,
And
though. It should hold up with time. You know, if it's true, if
exactly.
something is true, it should stand up all the way through.
And that's exactly what the leaders of the church have said, is
Yeah.
that if we have the truth, then it can't be harmed. And if we don't
Exactly.
have the truth, then it should be harmed, right?
Yeah.
So I started digging into that early church history and found out that there was a church historian that actually wrote a huge 200-page paper with all the problems of the Book of Mormon and presented it to the church. And these are big issues, like the historicity doesn't match up, the timeline doesn't match up. And the way that the leaders of the church responded was not to say, oh, shoot, we need to dig into this and figure out what's
We need
wrong.
to talk.
Instead, they stood up and they said, I believe Joseph Smith was a prophet. I believe the Book of Mormon is true. You can't hurt my testimony with your facts like that. And I was like,
this
that was
thinking
the
right
time that I
there,
realized.
what you just explained, though, and I'm sorry, but what you just explained was, Joseph Smith, whatever you just said, is the same exact pattern that we are watching right now with Lori.
Exactly.
Like, I don't care what you believe.
Exactly.
These are my beliefs, and my beliefs are true, basically.
Yeah. And that's why I bring it up, because that is such a Mormon position to take.
Yeah.
That when anybody comes against your beliefs and tries to disprove what you believe, the Mormon tactic is to double down and to say, you just don't get it. You don't understand what I've been through. You don't understand the witnesses I've received. You're ignoring all of my spiritual experiences
We
for
will
facts.
stand with
And
Jesus,
that's just not
and
cool.
you will find out how right I was when we stand with Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly. And that's the other thing. It's like there's so many Mormons who are like, you know what? We'll find out. We'll find out when everybody's dead, after the second coming is over. You guys are going to know I was right. You were wrong. It's fine. I'll be in the highest level. I'll come visit you down in the lower levels. It's fine.
I mean, we've heard her say that. We've heard her say that from her mouth, you know, and she seems to really just she doubled down a long time ago. And she's having to really, or what do you think? You think she's just having to live the lie? Or, and you know, also in their quote unquote doctrine that Ian released or whatever, there's something behind that. There's more to that story. I just, one day it'll come to the surface, hopefully.
So what did Ian say?
In that doctrine, that I call it zombie doctrine, but in those belief systems that they were, you know, outlining, it said that whatever you believe is, what if you believe it, then it's true. But it's something to that effect. I don't have the exact writing or, you know, statement, but it was something to that effect. It was like, if you believe in it, it was very stupid, you know. I'm just like, what kind of freaking doctrine
it was
is that?
Some kind of double talk about, like, like, if
you believe it, then it's real, you know. Okay, well, that makes, but that aligned that exact statement, well, when I remember it correctly, and to what I've heard throughout the years, even, you know, just like you just said, the leaders are just like, well, I believe in Joseph Smith, I believe the church is true, blah blah blah. And
so
I mean,
I want to go back and see what exactly Ian said, and I want to think about that and comment on it. But overall, it's very much a Mormon tactic to claim persecution, to claim that if anybody's coming against your beliefs, that they're persecuting you.
And it's because
it's an episode I want to do. I'm developing about the Mormon persecution complex, because it is a complex. It's like they believe that Joseph Smith was killed because of what he said about seeing God the Father and Jesus Christ. No, he was actually killed because he broke the law, and the mob broke in and killed him because he was practicing polygamy and sleeping with teenage girls. Like, that's the reason he was killed. But Mormons won't admit that. They don't want to hear it. Those are anti-Mormon lies. But what's interesting is that what was yesterday's anti-Mormon lies are actually now being published on the church website as the gospel topic essays, where they do talk about polygamy and things like that. So what's interesting is that we could go down an entire rabbit hole on the tactics of the Mormon church publicity machine and how they're trying to integrate themselves into mainstream Christianity and all that. Like, we could go through all of that, but for right now,
I hope we do one day.
Yes, and I will for one day. You know, you, me, all of us, we will. But for right now, talking about the way that Lori is talking to Colby, where she just says, like, you just don't understand. You weren't there. You didn't see it. The whole idea of being visited by Jesus Christ and then also being visited by Satan. There's so much to unpack, but I mean, all I can say right now is that I think Lori, obviously she's still in this big religious delusion. And I think, to answer your question that you asked a little bit ago, that I think she's in this delusion because she can't actually absorb the truth of what happened. And I'm not saying that to excuse her, because I think she was directly involved. I think Alex, for the most part, got his hands dirty. I think Chad assisted, but I think Lori was directly involved.
I think so too.
And
I really
I
do.
think that this story that she tells Colby, and this is very similar to her alibi that she gave in court as well, right? Where she pins everything on
Tylee.
On Tylee.
Her
it
daughter.
Is very much to me, and I asked Lauren and Dr. John about this a long time ago from Hidden True Crime, about the concept of the devouring mother, where the mother can't allow her daughter to be pretty, to be successful, to be smart, because it takes away from the mother.
Yeah,
I
she's
think Lori,
a towering oak tree, sucking up all the nutrients.
Yeah, I think that Lori has this compulsive need to be acknowledged and recognized as the smartest, the prettiest, the most spiritual. And the fact that Tylee was growing up to be a smart, beautiful, intelligent
far
woman
beyond her mother,
threatened Lori. And Lori always had to do something to discredit her, to tear her down, to put her second. And which is why I think she's, I will just say it right now, I think she's guilty of Munchausen's by proxy. I think she purposely kept Tylee sick because Tylee stole her thunder. I think that was a compulsive need of hers. And so I think that's what she's doing now with this excuse and this alibi. I think it's disgusting and harmful. And I don't know. I guess I said I didn't really know what I wanted to say, but I guess it's what I wanted to say.
Hey, that's how this works, That's how this works. When you speak from the heart, when you're just getting it out, so to speak. I mean, and that'll be this time. The next time it'll grow from there too. I think it's really neat how this happens. It becomes like, oh, this whole dialogue, and you're like, wow, I didn't know I had that on my heart,
Yeah, I think, answering your questions helps me kind of get some things out, because if I start from the very beginning of this, the main thing that I feel is just so much anger again. Like I feel rage, and I feel, I just can't get beyond how blind it makes me when I hear Lori say things like that Tylee visited her and apologized for being a brat. Like, I can't get past how angry it makes me to hear her say things like that.
It's so sick. It's sad. It's all kinds of things. I feel sorry for her. I feel a lot of anger. I mean, it's a ever revolving door or whatever of emotions all the time. And I mean, I handle it a lot with sarcasm and just joking or making fun of it or whatever. Again, I go through the whole gamut, but at the end of the day, when I close my eyes, this happened. When I used to open my eyes, in the very beginning of this, I would mentally check what, to myself. It's like I was waking up and I was like, zombies. Did that really happen? Like I was just like, really? I mean, yeah. Okay. Yeah. It would just be I don't do that anymore. It's been a process, out of that, but yeah, this is real. And this is happening. This happened. This is happening. And I just wanted to know like how we got here. Yeah. I mean, it was also rapid succession,
Yeah, and that's the question we're going to keep asking ourselves is how did we get here? And that's the original question I wanted to answer when I first started talking about this case. It's like, how did we get here? I want to shed some light on it, but even I don't fully know. You don't fully know. None of us fully know, because because there's an aspect of Lori's psyche that's always going to be private to her. But I do think the nightmare for me is that she's still talking to people. She's still influencing people. I had an email chat with somebody the other day who's texting with her in prison. I know she's holding court. Obviously, in this interview, she talks about the people in her pod that she still is influencing. how many of those people are
I'm
also
like,
influencing other people?
did they not know that she lost her case? I mean, somebody needs to tell them, you know, she wouldn't be in
It
prison.
honestly, it doesn't matter because Lori she's charming and she's manipulative and she's resourceful and she's going to come across as somebody who knows what she's doing. Hannah Walker, yes, she has a following. There are
That
people who still talk to
baffles
her. There
me.
are people who still believe her. There are people who still believe Chad. There are people still out there. Like, this is my
This
ongoing
is
nightmare.
not just
This is
their this is not just their
going
own
to
belief.
happen
This
again.
is all
Period.
their little
It's
groups. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It will happen again. More children will
Absolutely.
die. More people will die.
More Ruby
And
Frankies,
that's
more Debbie
why
Hedderbrand.
I keep talking about it.
Yeah. Yes. And that's why you have to keep talking about it. And I mean, that's why I want to keep talking about it, because not only does it bring justice, I believe, to the victims in this case, and just in this case, it gives their story I know that the way I'm going to say this is their blood was atoned for. It paid for this. And I want it to continue to keep, you know, reaching as many people as it can. Absolutely. Just to hopefully wake people up, or I don't know. And I wish I was a more
Well,
effective storyteller.
I think that calling awareness to these kinds of manipulative dynamics
Real.
helps people understand that these are real people. And what I always keep saying is that we all know someone like Lori. They may not have killed anybody yet, but we all know somebody who manipulates people to get what they want. We all know somebody who lies. We all know somebody who puts on one face in public and then they're incredibly abusive in private. We all know people like that. And the more we call awareness to that, the more people will see it and hold people accountable for it. Don't just
Before
let
it's too
them
late.
continue to manipulate, continue to lie. Don't just stay silent to keep the peace. Call them out on that shit. You have to say to them, that's not true.
Yeah.
Just like Colby did. Colby did it.
I know. I was
100%.
about to say that. We were about to get into like that aspect right there. He's like, I mean, those are the hard questions, you know, those are those ones that a lot of people dance around. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, I am too.
He really surprised me in that sense. I mean, the undertaking of this is just beyond my comprehension, you know. But I'm so glad that he did it, and he did it in his own way. And he owns it, is what I'm saying. You know, like, he is just like, I started this, I walked it through this process, and here. He didn't have to share with anybody. He did.
Yeah.
And I mean, wow.
The fact that Colby, I mean, he didn't ask for any of this. You know, he had this situation put on him. And I
And many others
admire,
too, I'm sure, throughout his childhood. I can only imagine the
because of his mom.
responsibilities.
Yeah. The fact that he was able to stay silent for as long as he did and not just say whatever was on his mind at the moment.
He got fooled that way the first time around, you know?
Yeah, and the fact that he waited and he was methodical about talking to her and asking her the questions he wanted to ask and remaining silent and just allowing her to talk and to convict herself. I admire the hell out of him for that. And I think that, you know, he has such a boldness of spirit that so many people never get to.
Yeah.
But the fact that this was put on him without his choice, like, it's not like he is an Olympic athlete who chose to train for 16 hours a day for 8 years to get where he is. He was forced to be this strong, and he's won. He's absolutely come out of this like as a champion, and I love him and I respect him, and I'm so sad that he has to be who he is right now. You know, like, I'm glad that he is. Like, he's incredibly strong. He's inspirational.
But I
I
mean,
just hate,
the
I
other
hate
side of
that
it.
he has had to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine. I've tried, and I really can't. I don't know what it's like to be in his position and to lose everything and everyone. And I mean, I have been estranged from my son before, and it's like mourning a person that's not dead. You're mourning their
Exactly.
death, but they're not dead. So I mean,
Exactly.
I've experienced that as a mother and my son. However, this is flipped, and I can't wrap my mind around it.
Yeah, and I've been through that as a mom too. One of my kids didn't want to talk to me for a long time, and it was really, really hard.
It is.
But in that time, I was forced to examine
Yes.
like my own role in our relationship and the ways in which I've hurt them, and
Right.
what I
So
needed
you
to
can
do to
own it
repair it.
too.
Yeah,
There you go. That's it.
exactly.
Break that cycle, that chain, that generational curse. It is generational all the way, every way, shape, form. It is. I do believe.
Yeah.
Because that's what we are indoctrinated with right off the bat. We don't know anything else. It's how we survive, and as babies, and so forth.
Yeah, and I think we all do the best that we can with the knowledge that we have, but those of us who are really willing to do the hard work will then learn how to do better. And Colby has absolutely done that, and
Mhm.
I'm so grateful that he's not passing on this same toxicity to his wife
Yes.
and his children.
Yeah.
It just
Absolutely.
but what just continues to gut me is what I still will never be able to make peace with is the fact that Tylee and JJ and Tammy and Charles had to lose their lives in order for this conversation to take place.
That's true.
And the fact that none of us could really stop what was happening. None of us, there's nothing that any one of us could have done to, correct
No.
what happened,
I
except
go through
think,
that. You go through that
yeah,
too, right? Where you're just
yeah,
like, "Well, I could have, I would have, I should have," and it just is it's a beating a dead horse,
yeah. But except rewind, right? Rewind to where do you think there was a chance for something to have happened?
Yeah.
Long before any of this dysfunction came
A long time
into the
ago.
picture, like long before people were killed, there was an
People
opportunity for people to hold Lori and
Yes.
Alex accountable
Yes.
for their behavior and for their
It
manipulation and
started
for all
at
of those
home.
things.
It started with her childhood. I do believe I don't
Yeah.
know, and I mean, I don't know that much about it. Besides, I mean, I guess we know more about hers than we do Chad's, for sure. I would love to know more about Chad's. It's really interesting how that was able to kind of just dance around the condemnation, or you know what I mean, the social media public
Yeah.
perception
And
of the Daybell.
Lamisa, I can't pin comments to the chat, but
Oh, well,
Lamisa says this happened when Stacy was dying. It happened long before that. Long before that.
I think so too.
Lori was manipulating long before Stacy died, and Alex was dysfunctional long before Stacy died. But their parents were checked out. They were doing other things. They were wrapped up in their own dysfunction.
Yeah.
They didn't parent those kids. They tried to control them, and that never works. And
Nope.
there are so many things that should have happened differently. It started in their childhood home.
And it probably buried Janice as well. I mean, it is generational.
Well,
It's
yeah.
a very learned behavior. And it's hard, I guess, I don't know. You add all those things together and it is Armageddon. It is the end of the world, basically, because it's like a shit show from none other. It's just,
Yeah.
wow.
And just to generally say where we are at in history right now, where there's a higher incidence of anxiety and depression in our young people than there are than there have been in any generation. Just rewind a little bit and look at it, right? My father was a Vietnam War era veteran. His father was a World War II veteran. His father was a World War I veteran. Look at
What
the
you mean?
generations of people who went through traumatic things, where they watched people die, where they killed
And
people
we didn't know
for
what these
love of
words
country.
were
And
before all that.
nobody at that time had any kind of mental health
No tools.
resources that were beneficial whatsoever.
They were
The
experimenting
silent
on us.
generation, the Great Depression, all of these things that
Wow.
happened, we cannot blame fully. We cannot
Mhm.
fully blame Barry and Janice, because look
Right.
where they came from. Look at
Exactly.
their parents and their
Yeah.
parents and their parents. Like, this
Whew.
is 6 generations of
Wow.
generational trauma that never got addressed in a healthy way.
But you're breaking that, and I think that I'm so proud of you, and I think that you need to hug yourself right now. Right? And just for real, because I mean, you're a badass in that sense. Really, don't sell yourself short. I know you probably don't. You're probably not good at taking compliments either. So I get it. But I
Well,
mean, for real,
the
a
thing
lot of
is, like,
people in here that follow you and everything that you share, because it is very valuable and it helps to put
thank
this
you.
perspective together. I think that a lot of people just love your journey, and I mean, that's why we watch. That's why we
Thank
watch
you.
you. That's why we care about. I'm there. I'm like, okay, yes. What we got to say today? I do. I appreciate it. It's
Well, I
a
can't
lot
I
of good
can't
input.
totally take credit for it, because
Yeah, you can.
on my mom's side of the
It's your birthday.
family, like my oldest cousin
Mhm.
on my mom's side of the family, which is this family from which I'm a 7th generation Mormon.
Not Braxton, right? Okay,
Not
I'm kidding.
Braxton. No. These are my mom's family, not my dad's family. My dad's
Gotcha.
family is the Laurie family. My mom's
So this
family is
is
the Mormon
Connor.
polygamous family. Right?
Connor. This is Janice Connor, right?
Yeah.
The
So
Connor.
Janice Connor is my dad's side of the
Gotcha.
family.
Oh,
Right.
it is
My
your dad?
mom's.
Huh, I thought it was your mom's the
Oh,
whole time.
no. It's my dad's
Backwards.
side. My mom's side of the
Awful.
family is the Mormon polygamous side of the family.
Wow.
So on my
Interesting.
mom's side of the family, there was only one person in 7 generations. Now think about
Wow.
that. My 5th great grandfather was baptized in Missouri in 1832.
Wow.
So my
Wow.
4th great grandfather was a very prominent polygamist in the church.
Mhm.
And he
Oh my
served jail
God.
time for being in polygamy. And my 3rd great
What?
grandfather,
Oh my God.
they've all lived in the same area of Utah for their entire lives. And then my
Southern Utah?
grandfather,
Is it Southern Utah? I'm just curious.
nope,
No? Okay.
Ogden area. Yeah. And my mother was, she went to BYU and she met my dad. My dad, on my dad's side of the family, it's only my dad's mom that joined the church in San Antonio in the
Wow.
60s. So my dad was baptized when he was around 12-ish years old, and Janice would have been 13 or 14.
Okay.
So that's that side of the family.
Mhm.
They're the first generation of
Okay, I
Mormons
get
on
it.
that side.
That helps a
You
lot,
know,
because I'm thinking Janice was born into this too, and
no.
I
So
love these little history things, because I mean, I'd
yeah,
maybe not catch it the times I hear it, and
yeah.
it's
So
good.
my dad's dad, Janice's dad,
Mhm.
right? Janice and Barry, Laurie's parents, right? Janice's
Mhm.
dad was a World War II flying ace, and he went down behind enemy lines during World War II. He was a POW in a German concentration camp.
He
He was
died.
there for a long time. His buddies all died. He was the only one that made it out. So
Mm.
that's, the legacy. And his dad was also a World War I pilot,
Which is unique to
right?
Mormonism in my perspective. I have not seen many people, they go on missions and things like that, but not too much
Yeah.
in the service, which I'm just,
Yeah.
I've made mental notes about that many times before. I'm like, I wonder
Yeah. Like
why,
love of God and country, or love of country comes after love of God. Like serving a mission comes
it's
before being
when it's
in the armed
convenient.
forces, for
We
sure.
have to really
Yeah.
like infiltrate and beat this in to our young adults, basically. It reminds me a lot of, I had a fiance before that was a Marine, and he went on 3 tours, and he, basically, like, if we wanted you to have a wife, we'd issue you a wife, that kind of mentality. And I'm just like, and to know now that it's like a lot of indoctrination just with that. And I mean, it's just like everywhere is a cult everywhere. And your analogy too about learning about the America. And so I'm like, this is what it's like to be in a cult, or to be, because I was like, oh my God, this has to be kind of what it's like application wise, like I can't imagine having to do both, like both of those levels, or that spectrum. It's so crazy. And it's like, can we stop seeking truth? It's so, I don't think so. It's just natural.
So the episode that I recorded today, which I need to edit, it's going to air tomorrow, is about indoctrination. It's about the fact that I'm a 7th generation Mormon and I never had a choice. It's about all the ways in which Mormons indoctrinate their children, and then themselves throughout their lives, and the fact that it's really, really hard to escape. And at the very end of it,
a lot of times, like your parents, your family, everybody, who didn't transition as well yet.
I have one cousin on my mom's side who's out of 24 cousins.
Is Lori in or out? What do you think? I'm joking.
Lori's in. She's in. She's 100%.
I know,
this is where this was all rooted, right? And then on my dad's side, myself, one of my close family members, and a couple of their children, my children. So it's starting to happen, right? But this is the first time in 7 generations since 1832.
You're doing it, though.
We're talking about almost 200 years.
But you're breaking that. And so it's going to shorten it for your children. And then it's going to shorten it for their children. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I mean,
but at the very end of that episode about indoctrinating, about how we get indoctrinated as children, then we indoctrinate ourselves by trying to Mormon harder than anybody else Mormons, right?
Y'all do too, boy. Y'all are competitive at that shit.
once you've been through the temple as a woman in Mormonism, there's nothing else for you. There's no way for you to continue to get more and more spiritual.
That's the climax,
And when you're a kid in Mormonism and in, regular Sunday school or whatever, there's also an extra thing you can do that's called the Faith in God Award or the Gospel in Action Award, where you can do extra stuff to get an award. Oh man, wait and watch the episode. There's a whole thing of Mormon jewelry that goes on. It's crazy. Little awards, right? And then once you turn 12 and you go into the young men's and the young women's program, there's another award that you can do that's called the Young Womanhood Medallion, where you set goals and you get little pendants and things like that. So you're conditioned your entire life to not just do Mormonism, but to do it better, to do it harder, to compete, to get recognition. Once you've gone through the temple, for women, that's it. Men, at least, can aspire to higher leadership positions, more holiness, whatever. For women, that's it. And so we are forced, if we want to have higher spirituality, we're forced to go outside of the church structure and look for it ourselves. And that's one of the things that Melanie Boudreau said to me when I talked to her after Lori's trial. She said, I just believed that if I wanted greater spirituality, I had to go out and find it. And she went out and she found it.
And here we go.
Lori went out and she found it. And and here we are.
Here we are. And this happened with the Laffertys. This happened with, oh my gosh, Jeffrey Lundgren. He was a RLDS. This has happened so many times. And it's going to continue to happen because it never is acknowledged, addressed, dealt with on any side, not in, I don't think in a constructive manner. I've never heard of a story where you talk the person off the ledge, basically. It always ends in some kind of blood atonement or something violent. And Mormons are violent in this sense. They are violent. I mean,
make no mistake. Mormons are obsessed with sex and they're obsessed with violence.
Yes. And I mean, look, you can see how it's transitioning as far as different fringes of this, or whatever people want to call this. This. Look at Mom Talk, or I don't have Hulu and I'm dying. I'm like, I need to see that.
Yes,
I'm about to buy it. Damn it. But
Well,
I mean,
I've been unpacking that on my channel as well.
man, I'm dying, like I don't think I can handle another thing right now, but I'm just like, I don't know. It's interesting because I see how they are and how that kind of progressed. I can see that with like Ruby Frankie and her sisters and going to these alleged touch parties. And I mean, look at M. Russell Nelson. I'm sorry, Russell Nelson. They confuse me, their names, but Russell Nelson, who's the prophet of the church right now, and his daughter and son-in-law, were accused of holding these touch parties. It's like nothing has ever been addressed, or it has tried to be, and somebody's trying to hold them accountable, but they just kind of tend to stay under the radar, and that's frustrating. But I can kind of see how this it's a slow and steady unraveling, or I don't know how to explain
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it's there. It's a culture of secrecy and shame.
Yeah,
And
that just, yeah,
and there's
it's really sad.
yeah.
I feel bad for these people. I do, because it's gonna hurt no matter what. It's gonna hurt. And it's like, you wanna just brace for impact for them or with them, or hey, you wanna throw a speed strip or whatever out so they flatten their tires at least, slow them down, because you can. I mean, now I can. I couldn't see this before. I wasn't looking either. And I mean, I don't know if that makes a difference. Am I looking for these things? And then I just kind of answered a question I had. Saying that. That's how this happened.
Okay, so I was talking with one of my coaching clients today about this, and I was giving an example about like I have to limit my time with certain people.
Mhm.
And she was like, well, was this recent or was it a long time? I said, no, like this was in December. She said, oh my God, it never ends. And I'm like, yes, when you are a person who is healthy, when you have healed from things, you become allergic to dysfunction. And it is a constant battle for the rest of your life to draw healthy boundaries so that you don't continue to get harmed by people who are manipulative and controlling. Yes,
so it's
you
ever
can look at it like
revolving.
that. It never ends. You can look at it like that. But you can also say, thank God, thank Buddha, thank whoever you want to thank, that I'm in a place where I can see dysfunction for what it is and call it out and not be harmed by it or controlled by it anymore.
Right.
And I give this analogy that like probably sounds really arrogant, but I'm just going to say it, okay? I live in a beautiful palace.
Mm-hmm.
It's decorated with beautiful paintings. And I'm in this huge room where there are paintings on both sides of the wall. And because it's so beautiful, everybody in the world wants to come and see these paintings. But for me personally, I have a little bubble in the middle of the room where I can see the paintings and I can see the people, but this is my bubble. If you come to my bubble and you want to talk to me and you're like, hey, I'm over here, pay me attention, I will go over and I will talk to you. But if you're not a healthy person, you're not allowed to come in. No, sorry.
Right.
Not sorry.
Boundaries.
This is my space. This is my peace. It is an empty space, and the only people that are allowed to come in are the people who treat me with kindness and respect. And if you're not a healthy person and you don't treat me with kindness and respect, I'll come talk to you all you want. I'll give you some time. I will give you some space. But you are not allowed to come behind this velvet rope unless you meet the qualifications. And the qualifications are, you have to treat me with kindness and respect. If you can't do that, I have this much time for you and that's it. The end.
I like that. I learned boundaries through this process, actually reading about what narcissism was. I was like, I never really dealt with this, and just trying to figure out, again, is Lori narcissist? I didn't know all these things. And so I was just like, wow. It really does help to put the world you live in, read the room. It helps you read the room a lot better. We are better room readers. There are a lot of people, and that helps you to see that. I'm like, oh, they're not reading the room. They don't even know what damn house they're in. Crap.
Yeah.
And
so Anna Franco says there's no cure for narcissism. And I will say that generally speaking, personality disorders are really hard to cure, whether it's cluster A, cluster B, cluster C, whatever. It is really, really hard to cure. But it's possible for people with narcissistic tendencies to become healthier if they are willing to examine the responsibility for their own actions. And I will say that there are a couple people in my life. Yeah, there are a couple people in my life who have narcissistic tendencies. I won't necessarily say they have a whole personality disorder.
I really do think we all do.
Yeah, we all do. But some of us developed that as a defense mechanism against abandonment.
Okay.
And some of us let it turn into dysfunction, right?
Interesting.
There are a couple of people in my life who have those tendencies because they want to be liked, they want to be needed. And through the fact that I created space and boundaries and did not engage with them enough, they went, she's creating space.
They don't like that.
One of the other people in my life is creating space.
Okay.
They don't want to be around me. They don't want to spend time with me. Maybe I should change some things about
Maybe
myself.
It's a me problem.
And they have made some progress. So it is really possible for some people to examine themselves and to make changes. Even like these people are in their 60s and 70s. So it is possible to make those changes. And they now have, guess what? Your reward for doing that work is that you get more time with me.
They just have to be aware of them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You just have to be willing to say, hey, maybe if I change this about the way I interact with this person, they'll want to spend more time with me. And hey, look, lo and behold, that's what happened.
Oh, wow.
Well, more acceptance. I think what it really was is more acceptance of the fact that this person is who they are. They have their own values and their own system. It's different from mine. It's not what I would choose. But if I just decide to love them anyway, despite our differences, then we can spend more time together. I'm like, oh, hey, that works for everyone.
Because, I mean, wow. I mean, I never really thought all this through, you know, like I never walked it through that, but that is interesting, and it gives me hope for some people, you know, that I know. And
I always want to have hope that people can change. I don't ever like change my boundaries or my expectations based on that. But I always want to say, hey, it's possible. And to the person in chat, I think it was TC who said, my mother's a narcissist, extremely hard to communicate with. She's only interested in herself. It's possible, maybe. I don't know your situation, but it's possible if you say to your mother, hey, whenever we talk, it seems like you just want to talk about you. If you were more interested in what's going on with me, I would want to spend more time with you. Just putting that out there and seeing how they respond. Obviously, if they respond in a toxic way, you're done, right?
May not be aware of it, though.
If they respond by saying, they may not be aware, and they may say, you know what, you're right, let me just listen to you for a minute. Like, give them the chance to do that. Give them the opportunity. If they take the opportunity and crap on it, then you're done, right? But you know, at least making the space that it's a possibility.
And then doing it, like you say, in a very healthy manner, like not coming at the person and just like attacking. Or I've learned that through this also, that you don't call one a narcissist. You don't say you're in a cult. These things are not constructive, these labels, and I think they're very harmful. You know, I had to learn a lot of these labels. I was like, what the hell does that all, what? I don't know what that means. You know, I've looked up a lot of things and I've continued to do so. But I mean, it doesn't do good when you tell a drug addict that they need an intervention. Like, here, you need help. I've watched intervention, a lot of episodes in that. You know, my brother deals with this, and I've learned, you know, that's how I figured out, you know, like Uncle Charles was wanting to do an intervention with Lori. And I mean, wow, you know, but it seems like things were already set into motion already. It kind of, everything was escalating. The train was on its way. And
she wasn't going to change.
We had no idea. You didn't have any. We did not have any idea what was about to blast through. And rock our world. completely.
And I just want to apologize to like TC. I saw your comment and I decided to comment on it. I don't know anything about your situation, and I'm so sorry. Like I like
an OG.
I totally get it. Like if you've already been through this with your mom and everything like that, and she's not listening and she's done, and you know you're done and whatever. I'm so sorry. I don't want to say like you should re-engage. Like I'm never going to tell somebody what they should do with their relationship.
Right.
All I
Just
wanted to say is
talk.
that I was shocked and surprised when people in my life were able to make positive changes, and this has been over the course of like 10 or 15 years. I don't think my mom has ever listened to anything I say either. Sometimes she, you know, like I say something and she just kind of like pretends like she doesn't hear me.
Acknowledgement. I can relate.
And
with
then I want to say to Teresa back here, right above the comment you just pinned, wow, guys, it's the Mormon religion. Don't blame the older generation. Hey, man, look.
I think it's
yes,
perspective. I think it's like it goes
the
into the
Mormon,
gumbo
okay.
pot.
Yes, the Mormon religion is to blame, but you
There's
also
part.
have to factor in where they are in this generational trauma of wars and depressions and
It
the
all-
inability to heal and to have mental
my
health capacity and everything. What I want people to understand is that the Mormon religion started in 1830. And what happened right after that? Freaking Civil War. What happened right after that? Like
the Constitution always hanging by a damn thread.
That's right. We had the Louisiana Purchase, where we were getting a whole new part of territories. They were trying to decide, you know, which state was going to stand for what and all of that. Then we had World War I. Then we had World War II. Then we had the Korean War. Then we had the Vietnam War. Like,
ripple effects.
I'm not trying to blame generations. I'm trying to say that Mormonism came about at a time in history when we were already a traumatized people. This added to the trauma. And then the Mormons freaking left the country and went to the Utah Territory, which was not part of the nation at the time.
Then they lied and they were like, yeah, no, we're not practicing polygamy anymore. Wink, wink.
Yep. And Brigham Young wanted to bring Utah in as a slave state. That should tell you all you need to know about Brigham Young when he didn't have to, right? And he had to be convinced not to bring it in as a slave state. He had to be forced to denounce polygamy.
The Edmunds Act and
Lorenzo Snow denounced it, but then secretly said, hey guys, I told the government we're not doing polygamy, but you guys go to Canada, go to Mexico, still continue. We're still
you're healed and you're
work.
filled. Like, we're going to do this.
So,
and I mean,
so
they've
no,
always
I'm
kind of
not
beat to their own drum. Yeah.
I'm not blaming generations. I'm saying like Mormonism was dysfunctional, is dysfunctional, but also contributing factors were
especially in this story. I mean, in this story, yes, for sure.
And the lack of good mental health care and
I mean,
there's so many factors that come together.
They just weren't like this back as we've grown or, you know, evolved or whatever, then the laws have even changed. I mean, how we require children to be in car seats now and seat belts and all the things, right? Safety first. Da, da, da. I mean, I used to stand up in the middle bench seat of my dad's pickup truck and I would just bounce and stand up and bounce. Because I mean, it was unregulated. And
like what my parents used to have a Toyota hatchback and I used to sleep in the window, like in the back window. Like I would sleep up there. It was warm. The sun was coming in. It felt nice. I liked it.
You waved to the people. You were that kid.
Exactly. I was like, those 18-wheelers, like, come on, honk at me, you know, all that stuff. So like,
you wanted
obviously
somebody to acknowledge you too. I just realized that. Like, you know, like, hey, see me.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, so many contributing factors. And like we were saying before, just trying to dig down to the bottom of how we got here and preventing people from getting there again. That's it.
That's it. Wow. Interesting. I know, I feel like we veered, but this was really we needed to have this. You know, it is. This is, we're like, not scripted. This is not scripted. This is real life. This really happened. This interview came out.
No,
this
you guys
really
are
happened.
Chat. Your flies on the wall in this conversation between me and Crusha. That is like what happens when we get on the phone and we talk about all of this stuff, and we're like, rabbit hole. Wait, stay focused. Wait, let me.
I'm like, but wait, hold on.
Why did I call you? I had a question that was specific.
You got to clear the whole damn schedule. You know, just gone because it's so interesting to get your take on it because you have been in behind enemy lines or whatever. you've been in there and you came out the mosh pit and you're like, oh, and you're like, I have all these war stories to share. And I'm like, here for it, because all through this time, I didn't know Megan. There was no Megan.
Yeah, we
And
didn't know
then
each
Megan
other.
popped up and I was like, who the hell is that? Oh my gosh.
What was the first time? What was the first time that you
I was
saw
in
me
Boise.
anywhere?
I was in
Do you
Boise for
remember?
Lori's trial. I was there basically by myself. I mean, my parents were there, but I don't like to infringe. Like I'm very, this is my space.
Well,
And
so
I
I
don't
didn't go to Lori's trial.
I know. That's when I saw you though
Yeah.
on your
Oh, you saw.
interviews. Yeah. People were
Was it
texting
on
it,
Hidden True
emailing it.
Crime?
Not at that point. No, these were just your initial,
Okay.
like Fox 10,
Oh,
I
like
want
the
to say.
Justin. Okay, so the Justin Lum was the first one that I did.
And I was like, Mom texted me and she said, she sent me a link to that interview too. And she said, she's saying the same thing that you say. I was like, thank you. Right? I felt very validated. I did. And thank you. Thank you. I mean, again, you say it much more eloquent than I do. And that's okay. You got to have thunder and lightning. You can't just
Oh,
be
yeah.
one
No.
flavor. And I think that's what's neat, because I'm outside, you're inside. Thank God you're outside now. Thank God. That in and of itself right there is just, that is a victory, and not for Satan. It's just a damn victory.
Well, and what's weird is that when all of this was happening in 2019, when Charles was killed, I was still in the church, but I was kind of disaffected. I was, I was upset about how harmful the culture was. I was about 2
You had
years
no
after
idea.
I was 2 years after my divorce, and I was like, I was angry. I was upset. I was going to church every Sunday, but I was like, I would like go to the first hour and then I would
Empty.
sit in the car and cry while my kids were in Sunday school for 2
Because
hours,
your soul knew that's just something, you can't pinpoint it. You're doing like all the diagnostic testing, like, is it this? If I touch this and put this over here, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
and it
kind
was
of.
yeah, so, like, when I first got the news and I started talking with Nicole and some other family members about what's happening, I was like, "This is the same old Lori and Alex BS that we went through with
Wow.
Stacy when I got kicked out of the apartment." Like, with Joe, like, when Alex went to jail and everybody was like, "Oh, crazy Alex, he's just gonna do what he's gonna do." And I
Like,
was
it's
like,
just, that's not a normal thing to say, these things, like, he's just my protector, he's just the family hitman. This is not normal. It's
yeah.
normal in this case, but it's not normal. I don't have any recollection of anybody in my family saying just a hitman.
Yeah,
I mean,
so it
I've
took
looked
me a
back now, I'm
while.
like,
Like, I'm thinking about like COVID, the lockdown, everything,
mhm,
when everybody didn't know where Lori was.
yeah,
And it was like,
wow.
I think it was like November-ish or so of 2020. And I think that was when I so the time that I really felt that the kids were not alive was when I had heard that Lori sold JJ's service dog. As soon as I heard that, I was like, "There's no way that he's alive and that she's hiding him somewhere." Like, that's not the behavior of somebody who's hiding him. Like, if she was hiding him, then and I didn't know your mom at this point at
Right,
all.
right, nothing.
I just knew how she was related, and that was it.
Mhm.
But I was like, if Lori is trying to protect JJ from somebody, she's not selling his service dog. Like he needs that. Like, that's
It's weird. Yeah,
pivotal.
that's not good. That's a flag right there.
And
That's
so I think that
not a
was
good.
the time when I called the FBI and I was like, "Have you tried Hawaii?" Because, like, that was the family,
Hawaii, Hawaii,
when
Hawaii,
things get bad, we go to Hawaii. And they were like, "Why would you say Hawaii?"
'cause it's, just trust me, pattern.
I was like, "It's a pattern, it's been a pattern," I was
I'm
like, "I
giving you
don't
a
have
tip,
any real
follow it. Yeah,
information, but I have to say something, I can't say nothing." So,
right.
so I
Yeah.
tried that. And then, it wasn't until, like, she was arrested and I was going through my own BS at the time, it was like a terrible time for all of us. And When the kids were found, like, of course, it was like devastating. It was the most devastating thing, of course, to have like what you suspected confirmed, and it was just so awful. But it took me 2 more years to get to the point where I could look at it with an outside perspective.
Okay.
It took what it took, and I'll be
Just
totally honest
distancing.
with you.
Yeah.
What it took was listening to, and I try to distance myself from all that stuff, because in the beginning I was just like Adam. I was like, I don't want to listen to any of this. This is hurtful. I don't
I
want
wanted
to
to leave it
dive into
behind
this
me.
anymore. I
Yeah.
just want to be done with that side of the family. I
Mhm.
don't want any part of this.
It's not that easy.
It was
Yeah.
no, because it's
Why
freaking
can't you just
everywhere.
leave your
Like,
family alone? Why can't you just leave the
yeah,
church alone?
yeah,
Meaning,
just
damn
leave
you.
the family and leave them
Why y'all
alone.
gotta deal with
But people,
us?
like friends of mine, would text me things and be like, "Have you seen this article? Have you heard this interview? Have you?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't, because I'm not watching this crap, because it triggers me,
Yeah.
and I'm dealing with my own trauma right now." But what ended up happening was when the audio of Summer's interview with the prosecutor, Rob Wood, got leaked. And Rob Wood was saying things like, we don't think that she's really that harmful, and it was all her involvement with Chad. And I wanted to freaking throw my computer across the room and be like, that's not it, y'all. She has always been this way. I couldn't stay silent anymore. Like, I was freaking angry. I was angry. I was like, nobody's talking about this. Nobody's saying this.
Like,
Like,
to us, you brought this entire, you blew this out the water. Just know that. Okay. If it wasn't for Megan Connor, we would not know this even existed. That Lori, I mean, we would have to glean that from the thing. That's what I was doing. I was having to glean. It was painting more and more of a picture of who Lori was that she didn't show me, that she didn't show a lot of us. Okay. But you blew that shit out of the water. You're like, extra, read all about it. And everybody was like, that makes sense. That's where it's at. That makes sense. And I mean, thank you for not being an apologist for your family either. Thank you. And I mean, I know nobody's, especially on your side of the family, has probably said that. And I mean, just the way you had to find out is heartbreaking. And I don't wish it on anybody. And I wish I'd have known you sooner. All of us, because I mean, I think it would have helped us feel more supported, of each other. You know what I mean? Like, supportive of each other.
I really
It's a
started
scary feeling.
distancing myself from Lori and that part of the family around 2007-8, when she was divorcing Joe, and there were all of these allegations and rumors coming out. I didn't know what to believe, and I was like, I'm not going to be involved in this BS anymore. It's this thing where Lori tells one story, somebody else tells another story. We never know what's true. We never know what's real. She's literally accusing this guy of SA, her own children, when we don't even know. Like, we don't know. And like, I got out
Without
at that
fascinating
point
character, like, just she kills. I'm sorry, I'll say that in a minute. Go ahead. Like,
no, I just like I had to get out of the family at that point, because that was really when my own marital problems were blowing up and were the worst, and my husband was drinking, and it was scary for me at that time, and I couldn't deal with yet another thing that was like super traumatic. I just had to put my blinders on and focus on my own road and survive my own thing. And so I regret, like, the regrets that I have are that I distanced myself so much at that time that I could not be a good influence on anybody, because I was in survival mode. And what I wish is that if I hadn't been going through my own stuff at that time, I was in a position where I could have engaged with Lori and said, like, what is going on? Like, tell me the truth. Tell me what's really happening. Let's figure this out.
You saw it for yourself. You did
I'll
your own research, though, too. You just, but you also just refused to buy into the narrative anymore, because what you were seeing and what was being said were two different things. Just like me with the church, what I see, and at least with this group, and I mean, I've ventured outwards. I worked my way outwards, and I orbit. I'm just coming back to it, circling a drain. But I mean, it's the same. It's the same thing. It's just like it's like a theme, whether it's
Yeah.
when people started, or when I started learning to call it a system instead of a church or an organization. When you look at it like it's a system,
It's a
family,
corporation.
or it is, and it's just all for its gain and its image. That's it. And I
Yeah.
mean, other than that, it will tank because if people really see what they're doing, how they're when you go to McDonald's and you get a when their freaking ice cream machine's really working, and you find out there's bugs in it, you don't want that. They would have died out a long time ago,
There's a
So
famous
yeah.
little Mormon lesson where they talk about like not watching rated R movies, and they say like, oh, it only has a few swear words, or it only has one little sex scene or whatever. It's not that bad. And our
So
primary teachers, like our Sunday school teachers, used to say like, oh, I've got this plate of brownies. Do you want it? It's so
Oh, the
good.
cupcake analogy, and
And then,
chewed
yeah,
gum
no, and
too.
then they would say, okay, I'll tell you a secret. There's a little bit of poop in these brownies. It's just a little bit though. You're
Oh,
never gonna
I
taste
think I've
it.
heard you say
And
this
they would say
before.
like, would you still eat the brownies? So for me, when I
Ah.
was coming out of Mormonism and one of my daughters was like having questions and problems too, I, sat down with her for a frank conversation for the first time in a really long time. And it was around the 2021 timeframe. And I said, it was devastating for me to find out that there was dysfunction in the Mormon church. Like it was devastating for me to find out that there was poop in the brownies. But once you find out there's poop in the brownies, are you going to keep eating it? Are you going to
Yeah.
feed it to your children?
Oh, wait,
No,
you just
you're
made this
not.
pop into my head though, and I'm sorry for this, but this is how this works. I'm sorry. But when you ever watched The Help where I forget the character name, but she makes the shit pie.
Yep.
But
Yep.
that's gotta be so I was like, well,
Octavia
that's
Spencer is the name of the actor, and she's amazing.
yeah. I mean, it was such a good movie. And like that's gotta be what it's like to find out you're in Mormonism, is like to take a bite out of the shit cake or whatever, the shit pie, and just be like, oh my God, it's poo, like
Well,
I
and the
don't
reason
know.
why I
It
put it
kind of
that
did
way
deserve to be
too
that way. Ugh.
is because there were some things about Mormonism that felt good. There were some things that I liked. There, like the idea of families being together forever. I liked that idea,
Until it
Um,
was exploited and you saw the exploited, I guess. It is exploit. I
yeah,
think they
I
exploit
mean,
everything.
and like the idea that God loves me and knows me by name. Like he knows my name and he is aware of the struggles that I'm going through. And all I have to do is call on him and ask for his help. And he's like, I see you, Megan. I see that you're struggling with your family. I see that you're struggling
Yeah.
with your divorce. And I want to bless you. And I want to, like, those kind of ideas were literally sweet to me. They are
Yeah.
what got me through the most traumatic parts of my life.
But
So
that's
to
not what's
find
being
out
sold
that
there,
sweetness was tainted
That's it. Exploit.
with
Done.
bullshit,
Yeah. That's
that
what
was
I hate about
devastating.
what this
It was
church does.
devastating.
That
Yeah.
to me is like they are literally, if you, and I mean, whether you believe in God or not, just, I mean, obviously you did because you were in Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Got Jesus Christ in the damn name. Okay.
Right.
How much more Jesus can you be? We are really about Jesus. It's in our name. And so, oh crap, I already forgot. Damn it, it was good. Remind me. What were you just
We
saying?
were talking about poop in the brownies. I was talking about that
After
there were
that.
things that were sweet to me,
That's it.
believing
That's it.
about God knowing me, and okay.
They taint that. They are okay with sacrificing every life that they touch and pull into their existence and into their that system that just is just horrible. Because what it does is it politicizes it. It polarizes it. Just like what Tim Ballard does with sex trafficking. and the ideas of it. It's the same thing as selling Christ, hiding behind Christ, and then just doing one thing and saying another. It's very gross. And so they mix the two ideas. And so when people fall out of favor with the church, this is my perspective, my belief, and I've seen this over and over again. It's devastating and heartbreaking because the person not only leaves the church, which is, I'm right there with you. I support it 144,000%, but they also leave God too, or they just don't, they have a bad taste in their mouth, and I can't blame them. I don't blame them. I don't fault them. I just think it's really sad. It's just like salvations are at stake here, possibly, you know?
When you get lied to about who God is,
Yeah.
and when you have this idea of like you think you know who God is, but then you find out that you've been lied to your whole life about who he really is, it's like, how can I believe
You're
anything
done
now?
with it. Yeah.
You have to deconstruct everything from the beginning to the end. And for me, it was like, if God is the foundation of my house and Mormonism is the walls, right? When I thought what was going to happen was that Mormonism would come down and I would clear the foundation and I would start rebuilding. But what I found out is that there was this gigantic crack in the foundation too. And then I found out that the ground underneath was unstable. So am I going to rebuild there? No. I have to go somewhere else.
I'm hauling my ass.
I'm like,
bye.
I don't even know if I want a house now. Now I'm going to get a trailer and just go on the road. Like,
girl, just get you a tiny house. Go van life, you know?
That's actually my dream. I would love to have a tiny house on the water somewhere and just to have a tiny house. I don't need things. I don't need space. I don't need any of that stuff.
Be a
I just
squatter.
need
Damn
a roof.
it. Go settle your own territory.
I'm just going to have a hammock in a tree with a
it reminds me of that movie where the heart is, where she builds her house where the heart is. It's older, it's got, and she has her chocolate milk sitting out under, you know, the little, I hate that I don't remember words. It is really frustrating. I know it's, anyways, blah. But
I get it. Like my trauma brain will kick things out and I'll be like, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I know you just said it.
And then Jason's not right here to be like, you just said this, you know? And I'm like, it's handicapping. It does handicap me a lot. At one point I had to tell him and my bonus son, especially the older one, I was like, y'all have got to stop trying to answer. Like when I'm thinking it out loud, you know, and I'm like, wait, trying to find the word, they would go to rescue, you know, they're like, oh, this. It's like a test, you know? And I'm like, y'all have to please stop. I love you and I know you love me and I get it, but it is really, I'm not being able to process the little grain of thought I do have. I can't hold on to it.
The word yourself.
It's been a little scary lately,
so the way that I think about religion and spirituality now is that I think that any time that human beings get involved with trying to interpret the divine, they are going to get it wrong, because we necessarily bring our fallible human brains to something that is undefinable.
We bring our confirmation bias to that.
Right.
Our God would do this. Our God would do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I never again am going to believe anybody else when they tell me who God is or what God wants for me or define any kind of God at all. I am going to define God for myself. I am going to define spirituality for myself. I am an incredibly intuitive, powerful spiritual being, and my spirituality can only be defined by me.
It's yes, that's a very powerful thing you just said. Boundaries. And it's also like, I was born with these tools. God, you know, God, source gave me intuition, a thought process, discernment, all those things. And so you're telling me not to think about that? You know, like, I don't like how it's like we are dumbed down, you know, or like how kids seem to be dumbed down, and they're very smart. They're sponges. Oh my God. You know, I mean,
and they're intuitive.
That's at a kid level, you know, I mean, We should
And they haven't been
build a
trained
group in
into
that.
rejecting their own ideas yet.
No hate. There's no racist ideas. We love it's humaning. It's just, hey, fellow human. Hey, person that feeds me. I mean, it's just, it's real and it's innocent.
Yeah.
But
So AJ, to answer your question, my first interview I ever did was with Justin Lum, and
yeah, that's how I found her.
I would interview with him any day of the week. He is an
Mhm.
incredibly smart person. He has a lot of
Yeah.
integrity, and he's done a ton of work on this case, and I appreciate him so much.
Yep.
I don't know Keith Morrison. He's not reached out to me.
Dateline.
And interestingly, well, I know he's a Dateline
Yeah, okay.
person.
I was like, girl, where you been?
I know who he is, but he hasn't, tried to contact me.
Cavity of a rock, huh?
As far as Nate Eaton is concerned, I reached out to him about the same time I reached out to Justin Lum, and Justin got to me first, and I interviewed with Justin. And Nate and I actually had a time set up to have a call, and then he never called. And I suspect that what happened is that he heard that I was speaking negatively about the LDS Church
She's a pod
and
star, y'all.
decided that he did not want to interview me.
And I think that's
And
why my phone has been mum too. They don't like us. I don't think we don't look good.
well,
For the
I mean, look, if you look at objectively the facts of the case, Nate
Mhm.
Eaton has a financial interest in East Idaho News.
Absolutely.
And the founder of East Idaho News, his entire platform was to protect the church from people saying bad things about the church.
And there is
So-
record of this happening before in other cases. Adam Steed, for example. I got a clip on hand if you I got it.
So if you look at the fact that
Mhm.
throughout the history of the interviews that I've done, I've always called
Mhm.
attention to the fact that the Mormon Church has some responsibility for teaching Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell that they could receive revelation directly from God. And when you teach people
You're
that,
not wrong. Yeah.
then you're going to have
Mm-hmm.
people with mental illness or with insecurity issues who are going to
Oh,
claim that they've
God.
heard things from God that have never happened.
Because that's promoted.
Objectively,
It's promoted
that's-
and done.
it's documented. This is what the Mormon Church teaches, and there is a long history of people receiving personal revelation who have done
okay.
horrible things in the name of receiving personal revelation from God that they were supposed to do it. Starting with, by the way, page 8 of the Book of Mormon, where Nephi chops the guy's head off so that he can get his scriptures back. It's
I never heard
baked
anybody
into
say
the
page
Mormon
8.
culture.
Thank you.
And
You know.
Nate, East Idaho News, they do not want to explore that angle. They don't want to hear that narrative. They don't want to hear that the Mormon Church has any responsibility.
They
in any
believe
of
in
this.
Joseph Smith as the prophet. They believe that the church is true and they sustain today's prophet. And I mean, that's just the way it goes. And
Yeah. And to be
until
honest with
he
you,
finds out in his own process, I've actually wondered this, if he is, or people like him himself, or people like him, when and if they ever come out of this, will they ever reflect back on this case and be like, oh my God, like, what did I do? I protected,
man,
like,
Trisha,
that's how
I
feel.
can't tell you how many times I have said to other people, I'm so sorry for what I said when I was Mormon. Like,
I love that too. I love that saying. I love it. Isn't it silly? Oh shoot, I forget her name. Cult of Consciousness. Yeah, I remember some, and I was like, that is the perfect freaking saying. That is, and I like that. I do, because you really don't know what the hell you're saying. And
no, I mean, you're so convicted in this, and you're so invested in your own delusion. You don't realize that you're delusional. And then when you do finally come out of it, you have two choices. You can either pretend that it didn't happen, or you can recognize that you were dysfunctional and you can deal with it and heal from it. So I will tell you one other thing, that I was neutral towards Nate until the demolition of the Daybell house.
Yeah,
and when
you had some very
interview, when that video came up and I saw the dollar signs in his eyes, and I heard him gleefully talking about the place where people were murdered and buried, and sensationalizing it and clearly using it for subscriptions and views and likes, I just was disgusted. And it's the reason why I reposted that video on my channel with no sound.
When you
Because
said that, I was
I
like, "Well,
believe
you're a freaking genius, man." I was like, "Why the hell does it have no sound?" But thank you for that.
because I wanted to see the destruction of that place where people were killed and dismembered and burned and buried. The destruction of that place needs to be viewed with reverence and silence for the victims.
Yes.
The victims are what matters there,
respect.
not the sensationalism, not the story, not saying it over and over again, not going
I
into
know.
the house and saying, this is the room where
Detail,
Tammy was
too.
murdered. God, I
Detail,
just
too.
could
I
not
mean, the
stand
day
it.
they were
So
demolishing it, he said I mean, I even flinched a little when he said it because he was like he went into the details of the kids being how they were murdered, what they were found with, how they were found, and I was just like, okay, dude. Like it was just a knee jerk reaction. It was genuine, because I was just like, oh, like, dude, chill out. This is I don't know. And I mean, I guess that's just me. That's my experience. I don't know, but
yeah.
I had seen a couple comments in the chat that kind of piped in on that too. So it obviously wasn't just me,
Yeah, and when I say a sense of reverence, I think like of a moment of silence. Like, let's have a moment of silence while this house is being brought down. That's what I wanted, was silence. And so that's why I reposted it with no commentary, with no Nate talking about rehashing things that were traumatic. I just wanted to silently watch that house fall and be gone forever, and just to go into oblivion and just have a moment of silence for the victims and just remember them and their lives and say their names and nothing else.
That's beautiful, Megan. Oh my God. That's really beautiful. And thank you. I mean, again, you show me a different perspective in this. And I know that you love Charles. I know that you love Tylee, and I know that you love JJ. I know that you loved Lori. I know that you loved Alex.
Yeah.
I know that you love I know you love your family and the world you live in. I know you love people, and just your empathy, your compassion, I don't know, you just have a way with words, and I'm like, I'll hire you. I need you as a damn therapist thing. Go get your damn whatever you gotta do. I'm like, she probably wouldn't, I probably
No, the
wouldn't
reason,
want her to.
honestly, like the reason I didn't get licensed or certified as a therapist is because licensing and certification comes with restrictions from the government, and I want to be free to talk to people in a way
Why?
that
All the other Mormon
authentic.
therapists are doing it. They do whatever they want,
Yeah, so
and
I
get
mean,
rewarded for it.
I coach, but I'm very open about the fact that I'm not licensed, and I'm only an expert in my own trauma, and I have resources that can help people, but I'm not the end all be all. And
Yeah.
when I work with people who have
I like
trauma, I insist that they go and get therapy as well. Like, but
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
things that I love about what I'm doing is that I get to listen to people's stories. I get to hear their perspective, and then I get to look at it from the outside and look at it without the trauma associated with it and say, like, have you considered this? What about this idea?
Yeah. 'Cause
Because the first thing
yes.
that happens to people when they go into survival mode is that they lose the ability to be creative, to problem solve. And one of the things that I can do as I look from the outside is try to help people solve problems in creative ways. And I love it because I just am trying to help people understand there's a way to do things that maybe you haven't thought of yet. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm here for.
It's valuable, and I love watching. I mean, it reminds me of how I dealt with this and how I've watched different creators, different aspects, different angles, because there's always a new angle. Nobody's ever going to say or report on it or talk about it the same way that you or I are ever going to do. That's why we're individuals, and that's what's cool about this world we live in. And I mean, it's just helpful to me because there's so many things I was just like, oh my God, I never thought about that. Jason brought up the fact that Lori said that she went to her bishop and she threatened him basically, like, you either give me my temple recommend or I'm going to murder And then she murdered. So what went wrong? Like what happened? And I mean, there's just so many different angles to look at it. And I mean, I just find them valuable. I mean, whether I like the person, how they present it, it's small YouTube channel, big, huge, it doesn't matter. I go all walks of life because I think it's interesting. And I love to hear their stories be told. I do. Because they deserve that. They deserve it.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyways.
Well, I think that's the first time that either one of us has taken a breath in 2 hours. But
yeah.
I don't know how long. I don't even know how long I've been on here. But thank you for letting me come and dive bomb your channel. I'm still not sure exactly if I've said what I need to say in order to heal about this.
We're not nailing you to anything. And anybody that does, we don't just have one version of this. It changes our everything changes, it's evolving just like everything else. And we're not nailing you to it. So this is not your thought. I mean, this is not an expose on we're nailing you down to this, so I just am glad that you decided to come on. I know this is difficult for you. I know it is. I know you've had to like kind of hold yourself up. And I think that sucks. And it's a very lonely feeling. And I know that feeling too. but you're welcome here anytime. And
I'm sure that I will do. Oh, thank you.
You gotta come to Lake Charles. Come on down. Well,
I want to. I definitely want to come and visit. I've thought about it so many times, and I will at some point. I'm sure that I will do a video unpacking this dang thing because now I have to. Now that it's so, I mistakenly thought that that Colby put it up as members only. He was going to leave it that way, and
no, he's very open. And
like really when I realized he opened it up to the public, and then I saw freaking Nate did a expose on it.
I was like, well, here we go. Nibbles, we got a
game now. But I will do. So the podcast episode that's going to come out tomorrow is on indoctrination. Like how we were indoctrinated into the church.
Because you're going to need it.
To
understand.
And I'm sure that sometime by the end of the week, I'll do an unpack on Colby's video as well. I just wanted to get to a place where I wanted to, I just want to honor Colby over and above everything else. And I don't want to dig into this like sensationalism of, I did not at all want to be the first one to comment
family
on this.
Also, Megan, your family. And I do the same thing though. I'm like, but wait, I don't want it to, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because this is what I want to talk about it, and I love the feedback and I love everybody's perspectives and questions and just other ways of seeing it. Okay. It's always so informative. Even in all these videos that I've watched of Mormon, I didn't understand a damn thing about Mormonism. I was just like, how do you know if they're in or out? How do you know what spectrum they're on? So I'd read the comments a lot to try and read into it more. And that's where it's at. That's the meat and potatoes of every conversation is in the comments. And anyways, I just really, I really appreciate you being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Happy
birthday. Thank you. Thanks for letting me bomb your channel. And I honestly, somebody asked in the chat if I was going to stay for the rest of the video. And I recorded my 2 hours on indoctrination today. I was already exhausted. I did not want to do anything else, but I saw that you were going live and I was like, well, all right.
I know, damn it.
Because I'm still trying to figure out my own feelings. So this has helped me figure out my own feelings and figure out what I want and need to say. So I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you do. There's so many times when I'm like, oh geez, Crusher did a video on that. Like I need to listen to it because you've dug into so many things, so many rabbit holes.
Like 8 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, but I also run circles around all kinds of things because of my ADHD. I'm just like, I mean, drilling around it. But you know, like I talked to mom. Mom had texted me Sunday night, and she asked, you know, like, did you watch that interview? And I was like, yes. And I mean, I didn't want to give it away in case she hadn't, or you know what I mean. I want her to
Yeah.
do it in her own time. I don't, yeah. So I was just like, it's very informative. I think it to me, it's again, it's like a touch point to be like, okay, and measure where we were then, where we are now. And it's going to come up in the future many times because of, um, what do you call it? Prison stuff. Oh my God, I can't think of the word. Where, not appeals. Is it appeals?
Yeah. There's going to be
You know,
appeals.
okay.
It's
Yeah, we're
bad.
gonna have to address
Yeah.
these types of things many times. So we might as well get used to it. We might as well learn how to get comfortable with it because it's gonna be around for a very long time. And so, I mean,
Mhm.
I watched it basically by myself too because Jason was down when he wasn't feeling good, and I mean he was out. And I told my boys, I was like, for the next hour, I'm gonna be out. You know, like just I wanted to just watch it, and actually I tried not to watch it. I just listened to it, and for the most part,
Yeah.
and I mean, I usually that's my raw. I'm like cussing at the TV. I'm like, no, no, bitch. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You know? And I mean, I don't know how I didn't wake Jason up, but so I don't really process it all the first time I hear anything. You know, I hear tidbits, you know, I cherry pick, I guess you could say, and or just hang on to some things. And then every time I go back over them, they glean so many more things that I'm just like, whoa, wait, I didn't catch this at all in the 5 years, you know. But mom, so she was just kind of putting her feelers out, you know, and
Yeah.
seeing, I guess this is my perspective. Hey, Lauren and John, how are
Mm.
y'all? But so her, yeah. Anyway, so then again, she was like, "No, we just got back." She hadn't watched it yet as of Sunday. And then today I talked to her for a little while and, you know, she was like, "Well, she's just doing things to be safe." You know, she's got her way of processing things
Yeah.
and I respect it, you know. And
Yeah.
whatever's healthy for her. I want my mom to be healthy. I want
Yeah.
I want my dad to be healthy and I want my brother to I want everybody to be healthy and as comfortable as they can be with this. I want you to be
Yeah.
healthy. I want me to be healthy too. Okay? So that's another thing. I'm working on it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I really it made me think about mom and how it is for her to process each and every one of these things. You know, like it makes me also
Yeah.
mad again at Lori for why'd she put us here? Why did she do this? You know, like
Yeah.
it evolved. It's just a circle jerk. It is a circle jerk, and it's grief, and it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, and
But
what I want people, what I hope people, especially people who are watching, people in the chat, and people who are following the case, what I hope that they understand is that grief is it is such a powerful emotion that it's why I don't believe in closure, is because
yeah,
grief will continue to visit over and over. And every time
yes,
something new comes out about the case, the grief comes up all over again. Every time I see the picture of JJ and Tylee together, the grief comes
I
up
know.
over and over again, because I think about the fact that there's nothing that we can do, like with as much work as we're doing to try to understand what's going on and
It's
trying to help
true. Yeah,
people
we're not
heal
there
and try to
sometimes.
prevent it from happening again. There's literally nothing that we can do to change the fact that their lives were ended so senselessly and so young for no good reason whatsoever, and that the very people who were supposed to protect them are the ones that took their lives. There's never going to be
That's what
anything we
bothers
can
me.
do or say that's going to make that better, or that's going to make
No.
that grief stop coming up for us. But
All right.
what I have to keep being reminded about grief is that it reminds me that I'm human. It reminds me that I still love and care about people and things, and that even though you and I and everybody else who's been affected by this case have had to live through such horrific and terrible things, our hearts are not made of stone. You know, we haven't let it harden us. We haven't let it change us to the point where we don't have our humanity anymore. We still can grieve and love and care about these people. I know people always hate it when I say that I have grief for Lori, but I do. I grieve for the person that she was before this happened.
You're not alone.
I think I
and
said,
it's okay. It's okay. You're not, that doesn't, I told that to Ashlyn, my daughter. She was really close to Lori and Charles and Tylee and JJ. She would go and spend weeks at a time. Lori told her she was special. I mean, she loved Lori. We all did. And I mean, again, I mean, I told Ashlyn because I knew that nobody else had told her. I don't know. I just told her, I said, hey, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to grieve Lori. I don't know if you know that, but I'm just letting you know that if you do, and I'm sure you do, because it's like she's the zombie. She is what she projected onto her victims, and it's like another death, you know? So, I mean, she cried when I told her. She was 14 years old, you know, but it's just like, it's okay. And I mean, nobody should shame you or me or anybody if we have those emotions. They're there. It is real. It is real. And they are real. And this is real. She was alive. And, you know, she was taking care of my nephew and my uncle and Tylee and Colby and just, so I thought, you know, but I wasn't really involved. I'm just being serious, straight up, you know?
Yeah. And when I
didn't
think
read
back
into it
to
too
like,
much.
when I think back to like the times that when I was a kid, you know, before I knew what personality disorders were, before I knew what abuse was, before I knew like what unhealthy family dynamics or high demand religions were, before any of that stuff, when we were just kids, you know, when we were just going to the beach and going to Disney World and going to water parks and, you know, doing stupid stuff. You know, I think about her laugh and I think about her wit and I think about the way that, you know, she and Summer interacted with each other. And I think about like Summer's spunkiness and her, you know, like stomping her feet and yelling at her older brothers and stuff like that. Like those are the things that like the innocence of the childhood before we knew what was really wrong, before we knew what was really happening. What I grieve is if we could have started at that point and knew that things were going to go bad and taken a different path. That's what I grieve, that path, that different timeline. Like for those of you who are, you know, Marvel fans or whatever, like the timeline where somebody sat down with her and said, "Are you okay?
Right.
What can I do for you? Can I help you? I'm
Your
sorry
feelings
that
are
you've
valid.
gone through this pain. Yeah, your feelings are
see
valid.
I
You're
acknowledge
acceptable."
you.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the time where I went back to little Megan and you know, and took her in my arms and embraced her and told her the things she needed to hear. Like, who could have done that for little Lori? You know?
I need to do that. I've never done that either. I'm like, what?
Oh hell. I'm telling you, like,
oh man. I got a lot of work to
was
do.
okay, so 3 of the hardest things that I ever did in therapy that healed me faster than anything else. 1 was acknowledging the emotional age of my parents, realizing that they never really matured beyond teenage years and that I couldn't expect anything more from them than I could expect from teenagers.
It wasn't
2,
you. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 was writing a letter to myself, telling myself what I love and appreciate about myself.
Girl.
And three
That's intense.
was going back to little Megan, because my therapist said to me at one point, like, I think there's some stuff we still need to work on, like envision yourself as a child. What do you see? And what I saw was my 7-year-old self sitting on a swing set in the park alone. And
Oh,
I could see myself there, but I didn't have any facial features. My face was blank. And my therapist said, I think that's because you believed that you didn't have an identity, like nobody saw you at a time when you needed them to see you, because that's when I was going through the hardest
sorry.
part of my like abuse. So I had to go to the park as me, as
Oh, no.
45-year-old me, as badass shit kicker me, dressed in black leather pants and a biker jacket and black boots. And I had to go up to that little 7-year-old girl with no facial features and take her off the swing and hold her in my arms and tell her how much I loved her.
Oh my
and tell
God.
her how much she was needed and how smart and beautiful and talented she was. And then I had to go and put her in a safe place. I had to go put her in a place where I knew she would be safe and happy. And I took her on my private jet to Lillehammer, Norway,
Oh, you
to
got
a
a
private
jet?
skating rink where I
Aw.
bought her a pair of beautiful ice skates with golden blades and a beautiful little ice skating outfit with a flouncy skirt and lots of sparkles.
So where's this
And
at? I'm just kidding.
Lillehammer, Norway, I'm telling you, it's right there.
I don't know
And
what that is. Cool.
And I put
Oh,
her
wow.
on the skating rink and let her glide off to go have a lesson with Michelle Kwan, who was my therapy when I was a little girl, because I wanted to be an ice skater.
Really?
And that's where little Megan lives. And whenever I'm starting to feel attacked or abandoned, I go and visit little Megan. I realize that she's fine and she's happy and she's safe. And I bring her a big, huge teddy bear, and I bring her a cup of hot chocolate, and I bring her a new outfit. And she loves seeing me. She skates over and gives me a huge hug, and I give her a huge hug, and she's safe and she's happy. That's the part of me that got abandoned at a time when it needed to not be abandoned. So those are the three things that I did in therapy that absolutely changed my life, because now I don't feel abandoned anymore. And when I do, I think about little Megan. I'm like, well, she's safe and happy, so why can't I feel safe and happy right now?
Yeah.
But those are the kinds of things that like we're afraid to do. Like I was afraid to look at that little girl. I was afraid, like, why does she not have a face? Like, what's wrong with her? I was afraid to dig into those feelings and those experiences. And it's like you say, being comfortable talking about uncomfortable things. If we can't get to the place where we can dig into the parts that hurt us the most, we're never going to heal. We never will.
It's so important.
We have to go to the places that we're the most scared of if we ever want to be really happy and whole.
It's hard. And it's hard. It really is hard. I can't imagine what it would be like to do this without a community of you guys, of everybody that has been here or in the future, like there's, and I mean, I remember a point where it went public and I was like, oh no, oh Lord, this is going to be weird. It was just a really weird situation, very unique. I don't recommend it at all. I mean, but I remember thinking like, oh my God, this is horrible. And just the magnitude of it. And I mean, but then I have valued and treasured the days that, I mean, I'm here. I jump online here every one of you guys are. And I mean, I really don't think that a family member of victims of violent crime should ever have to walk this alone. They should never have to do this by themselves. And I mean, if they want this way, if this is the way they go, I don't know. It's been a blessing.
Yeah.
For the most part, I really have had way more positive experiences with the love and just rallying around, it's blown my mind. And yeah, I would have never probably met you, you know, I mean, just the social
Yeah.
networking of this whole thing. Because of Corona, we were able to experience Zoom, right?
Mhm.
Don't everybody love Zoom? I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
that
like,
was the first
that was
time that I met Kay and Larry was over Zoom.
it's crazy because it's like I'm here in Southwest Louisiana and my parents are there and everything, you know, I'm just like eyes are dead set on Idaho and, you know, Hawaii, wherever they were. And
Yeah.
I was able to latch on and be involved, you know, to see it, to hear it, to go back and hear it again. And I mean, so a blessing and a curse, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just been very different. I'll tell you that. But I don't know. I'm just grateful for you guys. And I'm so glad that, you know, you did the interview with Justin Lum. I'm glad that he reached out and gave you a platform to do that in a
Yeah.
safe place. And I'm glad that everybody saw what I saw, you know, and I mean, I'm so glad and relieved. Thank you for coming into my life and just validating me in so many different ways. And not just me, like, just I'm not crazy. I might, you know, appear a little cuckoo every now and then. I might have my little glitches, but I mean, really, it helps me bring a lot more context to this story because we're either getting lies, we're getting speculation, we're getting rumors, you know, it's all those
Yeah.
things. And we'll never know. Like you said, we'll never know exactly what happened. But I think we are doing the best we can with what we have, just like Colby is doing the best he can with what he has, and everyone else that is affected by this, you
Yeah.
know, because it affects people who live across the world, you know, it affects people as it should. It would bother me if it didn't, you know, it would
Yeah.
really concern me. And so, like you said, we're not there yet. We still have that. We still have that. We're not hardened. Yeah. And I'm glad because the humanity part in this is the only thing that has gotten me through. Humanity, helping
Yeah.
others, checking on
And you're
others.
doing a great job. You're doing a great job of digging down all of these rabbit holes because it's all so
Mm,
intertwined and interconnected, and it's
look
hard to
away. I can't look
know.
away.
Yeah, and for me, I get overwhelmed with the fact that it's
Mhm.
such a big problem that how can we possibly, like, tackle it all? Like, we can't. Like, there's no way that we can
Well,
totally make it go
you grab
away.
your pot stir, you grab it, and then Lauren will grab hers, and everybody in this chat grabs theirs. And
Yeah.
then Heather, you know, did I say Heather? See, I already forgot. There I go.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
and then we all just bang on the damn pot, okay? And we do it
Yep.
until the squeaky wheel gets oiled, gets greased, you know? So
Yeah.
that's what I do. I feel like I say the same things over and over and over again. Insanity, straight up. It feels like it sometimes, but whatever it takes. But I think there's a lot of great strength in numbers. Um, don't ever think that, you know, I can. Some people have been like, "Oh, you're just trying to take down the church," and I'm like, "Dang, you think that much of me? Like that's pretty powerful, you know?" Like, and then what would I do with a church? I'm really not in the market, you know. Never thought about it, but thank you. I mean, I thank you. I don't know, but
You know,
you know,
I there
it's not. I don't want to
psychologically.
tear down. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and psychologically, it says that it takes, 7 or 8 points of contact of someone hearing the same thing from different sources before they
Come here.
believe it, absorb it, whatever, and so I'm glad that you're out here talking about it. I'm glad that John and Lauren are still talking about
Mhm.
it. I'm
Yes.
even glad that Nate is talking about it because he
Yep.
he does lend a narrative to it.
Mhm.
I don't like the way that he does it, but I'm grateful that the conversation is still happening.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that Colby is here now too. And I'm
Mhm.
so grateful to hear, I don't know, everything that he's saying. I think he's in the
Yeah.
healthiest place that he could possibly be right now. And
I think so. I
I'm so
mean,
proud
looking
of
back,
him.
right? Looking back at like just from what I've seen of Colby and his journey and Kelsey. I mean, she sacrifices a
Yeah.
lot in this too. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, for
you
sure.
know, and He's grown. He's grown. You know, he's just evolved, and he's getting his footing. And I'm like, whoa, you know, he told me a few things, and I'm just like, wow, dang, dude. Like, he stood up to her. He even had the Lori. This whole thing is because she doesn't want to confront anything. She wants to run away from everything. Hawaii. She wants to run away from accountability in this. She wants something inside of her. There's something that happened to her and or something, you know, that she has not touched yet. It's that dangerous to her. It has to be.
Yeah.
That's just me and my little unprofessional opinion. But I
No,
know it's a lot of things,
agree
but
with
there's
you.
something bigger there. There's something we don't know.
Yeah, when you've never really done the work to confront anything uncomfortable, it feels really, really scary, like the first time you do it. So I get that she continues running away from the truth because of how uncomfortable it is. And it's almost like you create this system where you don't want to confront the little things, so you let it go, you let it go. The little things become big things, then you don't want to confront the big things, and they become even worse. And now she's at a point where I believe that if she actually admitted to herself the truth of what happened, I think it would kill her at this point.
Did I ever tell you where I found all the dirt that keeps getting swept under the rug? Did I ever tell you where I found it? Boise, all those mountains and stuff, especially driving through Utah. That's where it all goes, because that's what it freaking adds up to, is a mountain. And you can't move a mountain. You can't.
Yeah.
Now you can store stuff in a vault in a mountain, but anyways. I'm sorry.
Well, you eat an elephant one bite at a time, and I think this is an elephant that I'm glad that I'm not the only one who is trying to eat the elephant, because it feels overwhelming a lot of the time.
I've never
So
had
I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for our conversations, and thanks for letting me drop by and bomb your chat.
Hey, bombs away, boo. Anytime.
So I'm not going to stay for the rest of the video unpack just because I'm so exhausted, but I will watch it tomorrow.
I appreciate that. And also Hidden True Crime is going to be doing theirs, releasing theirs tomorrow on this, if I'm getting that right. Tomorrow.
And I might wait until after theirs airs before I make my own commentary, because I really do want to just sit with this for a minute longer.
Do it. Do whatever you need to do.
Just say what needs to be said from my perspective. And I don't really care, honestly, if people listen to it or not, but I just, I had so many emotions while it was happening, but I was also trying to compartmentalize because it was my birthday. So I was trying to still have a happy birthday.
Right. It's my party, and I'm not going to cry if I want to.
That's right. I was living my best life when that came out. I was like, okay, so I have to tell you too, like, it's General Conference Sunday. My birthday a lot of times fell on General Conference Sunday, and I used to think it was awesome that I could sit on my birthday and listen to conference from home instead of going to church. So, but I was very relentless about watching every session of General Conference when I was a true believing person, Mormon. And I was very religious about watching every single session, like sitting there with my notebook taking notes and everything. So I just want you to know that on Sunday morning, when the most important session of General Conference was going on, I was watching a James Bond movie while I was putting together a Lego Millennium Falcon and drinking pink champagne.
What? That is so random and cool. I mean, I'm just saying, wow. It's so random and freaking cool. I want one. I love playing with Legos, man. That's problem solving.
My son gave me the Lego set of it's the smallest Millennium Falcon, but he gave it to me for Mother's Day, and I had never sat down to like put it together. So I was like, you know what? I am gonna just drink some champagne while I put this together and watch a James Bond movie, which is the opposite of General Conference.
I love how you put meaning behind stuff, because not only that, but you actually like used the present that your son gave you, you know, like, and I mean, so I'm like, oh wow, she's tying it back to that, you know, like, it's so sweet. You're sweet, and you don't even know how sweet you are. I mean, really, and you're good at like telling it, you know, you're a good teller of stories. So Anyways, I just
Well,
subscribe.
I
I
don't know.
admire you guys. I do. Anyways, I look up to y'all, so to speak. Like
Yeah.
you, Colby.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I look up to my mom. I
I
look up
mean, we're
to
just
Larry.
human beings trying to
Oh,
we're trying to
yeah.
navigate the same BS that you are, and we're going to
Yeah.
do it imperfectly, and we're going to screw up sometimes, but
Yeah.
at least
And
we're
yeah.
out here,
True.
as Brene Brown says, we are in the arena getting our ass kicked, and if you're not also in the arena getting your ass kicked, we're not interested in your feedback.
Oh, that's really good. And I have her book too. One of her books. Oh my God, I love that because you're not interesting, or you have a long ways to go in your journey.
No,
And
if
yeah,
you're not putting yourself out here, think about what you're doing. Think
true.
about what Colby's doing.
I
We're
I
literally
can't
putting our
comprehend it.
real lives and our real emotions out in the internet for
Yeah,
everyone to consume and comment
forever.
on. And honestly, you have a great community over here. I have a great community in my tiny little corner of the internet. And the people are generally kind and respectful. So when somebody does come and make some uninformed, ignorant comment, I just don't care,
It's just
because I'm
that,
not
yeah.
really you're not out here doing this. This is hard. And
Mhm.
I'm not interested in your feedback.
Right. I mean, if you don't, yeah, you got to value it, and you have to actually are you really? I speak ignorantly all the time. That's how I kind of ended up here. Like Charles Manson, he didn't kill anybody. Straight up, read the room, read Larry's face when he saw what I said. It registered. And he was like, and I was like, oh, I was like, okay, note to self, gonna check up on that. Obviously, I don't know a great deal about this, and so now I do, and I've studied it, I've researched it, and I continue to do so. And I'm sorry for all the times I was an ignorant ass, so yeah.
Crusha, you ignorant slut.
Just saying. I am. But I don't know.
AJ asked.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm commenting on
No,
stupid
no,
stuff.
go for it.
AJ asked which Bond movie though. It's hard for me to choose one. But I happen to the first one that happened to come up in my little library was Skyfall, so that was the one that I watched. But I am an appreciator of Bond movies throughout the years. I have to say Timothy Dalton was my least favorite. Sean Connery was
No.
up there.
What?
But I have
I
to
like Sean
say,
Connery.
I like Sean Connery a lot, but I have to say that Pierce Brosnan was probably my favorite one.
Oh, I mean,
I
I
liked
don't know. I'm
GoldenEye.
like James Bond.
Oh,
I remember we did that in band in 10th grade to the
yeah.
theme of it, that was it. Goldfinger, right? Is that one?
Oh yeah, Goldfinger's one of them. Yeah, only
Live and let
because
live.
Pierce Brosnan used to be on a show called Remington Steele that I watched with my mother when it was, scandalous. And I always loved, oh my gosh, he was so freaking charming and his accent and everything. So when he became a Bond, I was like, okay, I'm watching this. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom and I would watch Big Love straight
Oh,
up
really?
before all this. I
Funny.
didn't know about the Mormonism stuff.
Little did you know.
Didn't know, and then I rewatched the whole damn series after this. I was like, wait, what? I know. Come on, I'd drive over to her house and we'd lay in her bed and we'd just sit there and eat popcorn and watch Big Love. And we were like, oh my God.
So
holy
funny.
crap.
I love it.
It's so innocent, because we're like D, not knowing what the hell is coming for us. And yeah, didn't know what all I should have been paying attention to. Anyways, but I mean, for cultural aspects of it, it's interesting. I recommend it still.
Yeah.
But Sean Connery, he always reminded me of Larry. Larry reminds me of Sean Connery sometimes. I forget the other guy's name. But in JJ, he would say hi. He would say Aunt Crusha. He would just say Crusha because he beats to his own damn drum like his aunt. Seriously. But he would say it like hi. Oh no, he'd say hi Crusha. Just the way, I don't know. It's just the way he pronounced it. It just would kind of sound like Sean Connery too. That song though that JJ sang on the bus, I don't know. Is it a hymn from church?
No, he was
April
singing. I thought he
I
was
don't even know what it
singing.
is.
I thought he was singing "We Will Rock You."
No.
What
Mm-mm.
was he? Oh, what was? Now I
It was
have to
like,
go back and look on the bus
it
video.
was like, I don't even know. It was like, I don't know, because I'm gonna sound stupid when I do it.
Somebody
So
in the chat is gonna know what song he was singing.
I wanna know what it is because I just do. I mean, it's just that was such an
Oh, turn
impromptu,
out the lights, the
weird
party's
thing that
over.
I
That's
did.
right. It was,
No,
yeah,
that's
Willie
Larry.
Nelson, turn
I'm
out the
talking about
lights, the party's
JJ.
over.
I'm talking about JJ,
Okay. Well, now I'm gonna have to
not
go back
Larry.
and watch it again.
Because he was singing into the microphone. JJ, that was the whole point of me pulling out my video, and I forgot that I even did that until the kids were missing and it hadn't gone public yet. It was like it was Christmas Eve actually. Whenever I ran across it, I was at my mom and Larry's. We were opening presents. The shark pajamas were hanging there.
Mm.
And anyways, so I remember I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot I found this video." And so I sent it to Larry. It was JJ and him and y'all have seen it, most of you, but it's them on the bus and it was from March of 2019. So that's whenever
Mm.
mom was helping Uncle Charles pack. She was away with him and so we kind of had full free reign with JJ. I mean, Pawpaw more than me, but still I just ate it up, and anyways, I just fixed that microphone too. It wasn't playing, and so I fixed it, and then Larry showed up with JJ, and he was like, "Oh, let's go fill the bus up." Larry does this. Larry will fill everybody's vehicle up. That's what he does. I'm just saying, he likes to top it off. That's what he does. And you also wake up and your entire yard be cut, and you're just like, "Thank you, yard fairy." You know who it is, but you can't make them stop. You just learn to say thank you. Anyways, but yeah, so we just ran right. I mean, it was literally the block over, and so me, my bonus son, and JJ and Larry, we rode there, whatever. He was topping the bus off because he took JJ back to Houston. I want to say the next day to, to go bring him back, and he brought him all the way in the bus, and but I don't know. JJ was singing and Silas was digging in his nose. I was like, good Lord. He's just, and I'm like, oh my God. And we revisit it every now and then. We laugh. But I forgot about it. And so whenever just go to Christmas Eve, 2019, I found it again, forgot about it, sent it to Larry. And so me and mom are talking and I'm like sitting at their feet, like he's in his chair and she's on the couch. And anyways, and so I was talking to mom and Larry was holding his big iPad. It's like a TV. It's basically like my monitor right here. And I'm just like, how do you do that? And he's just kind of he's quiet, and anyways, he catches my attention and he goes, hey, and he like showed us the video. He goes, look in the window reflection whenever I forget what he said, like whenever I take the microphone. And JJ's like, he kind of, you can see JJ's reflection, although he's not on the camera frame anymore. You can see his reflection and he's jumping up and down with excitement. And that's what Larry saw out of that. And I mean, I didn't, but again, it's just those things that are unique to ourselves. There are memories, and that's something that Lori, Chad, and Alex, and any other person involved in this can never take away from us. Every memory. And that's what this is all about. That's what this has become because of, all the things, all the powers that be, basically. And I don't think there's a real justice, I don't think it's never ending. It always changes and there's always something else to look at and apply and reflect on, because their lives, they meant a lot to a lot of us, a lot of people who love them and miss them every day. And this is hard. It hurts. It's raw. It's real. It's real. That's the scary part, is it's real.
Yeah.
And it is reality, and it was reality for them. And I just, I just want to honor them in the sense that I never want to stop saying their names, because that's when they truly die.
Yeah.
That's when they truly die. That's or when we die away, and nobody else is here to know their stories. Their stories need to be told, and they
Yeah.
need to be told correctly. And I mean correctly, to the best of our ability, because it gives justice to their stories, to the reality of this. And it's scary,
Yeah.
it's ugly. Murder's it's not pretty. I used to have the box analogy too. I just want to put it into a tiny little box and with a bow on it and just present it to you. And then I was like, oh no, that's not at all how this works. This is not how it works. This is messy and crazy and nonsensical, and it's heart-wrenching, and it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
That it is. So
Yeah.
anyways, thank you. And I'm going to end too, because it's a long live, but I'll schedule again, and we'll talk about it again if you want to jump on then, and we'll actually watch the video and react to it. I was even thinking about doing maybe a small panel. And I'd like, well, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was just thinking about that, and just we'll John Delenn it. And we'll do a panel, and I'll try to be quiet. I need somebody holding the mute button. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a clip of you saying that and send it to John. He would love to hear that.
Oh, I'm a fan.
Yeah, I'm here for you. I'm here, and I'm happy to come on whenever.
It's public
And
service, Megan. It's public
huh?
service. It's a public service.
Yeah, it
Just
helps me too, though. It helps me unpack,
Mhm.
and I again have not been sure of what to say about this whole thing, but this helps me, and I'm grateful that you're having the conversation and that you jumped on it before I did. I just at this point I
Oh,
want to
I was
sit
trying to
back and
maneuver around you,
listen.
actually. I was like, "Did she schedule?" Okay, because I'm like,
No.
takes me
Yeah,
80
no,
hours to just schedule a live stream, because I'm like, "Okay, oh yeah, I forgot to do this," I'm human.
well, and me too. I try to watch out for you, but
Yeah.
sometimes too I just jump on because it's what it is. But
Yeah.
I yeah, I mean, right now, I want to just get quiet with myself and listen to how I feel about what's been said, and think about what is the most important thing from my perspective to say. Obviously, everybody who's involved in this case is gonna have opinions about it, and we all feel similarly about certain things,
Mhm.
but there are things that were said in there that I'm still trying to process how I feel and what I wanna say about it. So, I don't know when I'm gonna really be ready, but if you happen to schedule it and I happen to be around, like happened tonight, then I'm all for it. I'll jump on.
Yeah. I mean, I really respect your process. We all do. And I mean, we could all talk about the same exact thing and give it 50 different perspectives and
Yeah,
spins on it. I mean,
for sure.
they're all just as valuable as the next. I really think so.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. But anyways, thank you so much for just putting yourself out there, jumping on, and just being real, and just being you, and just giving
Yeah.
your perspective in this. It's very needed. And a
Well,
lot of
thanks.
people will appreciate this, because we're all just trying to make sense of this. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed, agreed. Well, I'm gonna
And
drop off and let you say goodbye to your audience. I'm
alrighty.
gonna go to
Thank
sleep and
you.
try to get up on time tomorrow morning, so
Okay, positive
love you,
thinking, okay?
Kresha.
You're gonna get up.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.
Okay, guys, that was awesome. I'm glad it turned into that, into this. And, hey, we no script, so we just roll with the punches, and it I needed that. I needed her too, I appreciate her, just her involvement in this, she's she's a wealth of knowledge, and I'm just stuttering because I'm thirsty and I'm hungry and all those other things. But I want to say thank you to the mods. They are troopers for sure. And thanks for everybody being here. You're so appreciated. You is kind, you is smart, you is important, right? So I'm going to go snuggle up with my man, and I will schedule again so we can chip away at it some more. So I love you guys. Justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. And just the silence thing that got me earlier, when Megan said just with Nate Eaton playing the interview and she just put it in silence, and they do deserve that too. So anyways, it won't be this time, but justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. And love always wins. And you are proof of this, okay? You are. Bye guys. See you next time.